the end of March, he ran that collegiate leading time. And we have a scratch in the very first heat of one of the favorites, Osama Al-Boushebe of Alabama, the sophomore, still suffering from an injury, unable to go. They're hoping to get him nursed back to health by the regionals, which are just a couple of weeks away. So we go to lane 7, and another Texas A&M runner. It's 800U down there in College Station. Kamar Farquharson, the Jamaican from St. Elizabeth, Jamaica, 146.20 this year.
Currently number 9 on the NCAA qualifying list, and Pat Henry is so excited about what Kamar can do at this championship meet. In addition to running the 800, he also flexes his 400-meter speed as part of their 4x400 relay, and Pat Henry said it's really important for us as a team to get him into the final. This is Riley Wells. Speaking of people who are important to their squad, for the Arkansas Razorbacks, they need Riley Wells to advance on to this final. Comes in with a personal best of 147.82, previously competed at Illinois State. But this 800 field, Dwight, one of the most loaded fields in the entire meet. You know, you heard Fernando mention it. You have, of course, Sam Whitmarsh coming up just a little bit later, the collegiate leader. And all of these guys are going to be those same faces that show up in Eugene in just a few weeks to contend for NCAA championships in this event.
So there are the lane assignments. Lane 6 is a scratch. Osama Al-Boushebe. And qualifying is the heat winner only automatically advancing, and then the next 5 fastest times that were not winners throughout the 4 heats. So a real premium on winning your heat. They're looking for a 9-man final.
Last year, Dwight, it took 149.19 to advance to that final on Saturday. I would expect this, despite the heat, you're going to really keep this pace pretty honest because of the caliber of competition that you have out there on the track.
On your marks.
It's currently 90 degrees in Gainesville. They will stay in their lanes throughout the first curve and then break for the pole on the backstretch. Humidity 55%, so it's plenty sticky out there, along with the warm temperatures. Multi-eventers have been in the heat of the day all day long.
That's Eddie Kipren of Florida, who is up there up front. This is a huge event right there. See him get a little bit of a tap there from A&M. Huge event for Florida. I believe they have 7 entries in the men's 800, looking to advance as many as they can on to the final. Really like how composed Kamar is running to this point. He really isn't super race savvy, doesn't have a ton of race experience. So through the indoor season, you can see him getting more and more comfortable running through the rounds.
2 Aggies up front as they go to the bell in about 52.5. It is Farquharson on the inside and Caden Norris, the junior from A&M, on his shoulder. And now you can see a move being made by Kepren of Florida to try to get back in it. Riley Wells now working his way up to 4th. Remember, just the heat winner automatically advancing. If you find yourself in a pedestrian speed heat, you're not going to get through to tomorrow's final, or Saturday's final, I should say.
Kepren doing a phenomenal job of rebounding after getting tripped by the A&M athletes and sticking right in there alongside Kamar Farquharson. This is going to be a phenomenal finish to see who advances on to Saturday. You got 2 Aggies right up there. Riley Wells fighting for a finish too.
Here comes Norris back on his teammate. Remember, only the winner automatically advancing. Farquharson is going to get that. But Norris is digging hard to make certain that his time will also advance, which it looks like it probably will. 147.94, that means he was low 148s.
And for a guy who is able to clock a split in the 4x4 of about 44.9, that opening 400 of 52.8, incredibly comfortable. So a little bit gassed there at the finish, as you are with any 800, but that type of race is well within his comfort zone. Coach Pat Henry told me coming in to this meet that he is just such a great competitor. You saw that on display right here. Look at this, 3 straight across. As you're on that backstretch right there, you get a little bit of separation as you see that Kepren gets onto the shoulder, does a great job of hanging in there Farquharson incredibly composed and just kind of cruises. You can see how he's able to really run within himself and not straining a whole heck of a lot. This is a guy who absolutely hates to lose, and you saw him so casual to the finish, looking around to be sure he was comfortably through to get the win, and did a great job of making this heat honest enough to likely pull his teammate through, depending upon how the succeeding heats go.
Coach Henry will be happy at the effort that Caden Norris made to get up there under 148. Riley Wells at 148.90. He may have a little bit of concerns with 3 more heats remaining. Here are how the points break down. There's a premium for first and second, 10 and 8. And then from 6th down to 8th, they go down 1 point at a time. And those 6th, 7th, and 8th places oftentimes are the difference between making a team the conference champion and not. Heat number 2 now on the track. And we are focused on lane number 7, Tyrese Reed, the senior from Mississippi State. Currently number 3 on the list for qualifying for the NCAA.
He's also the Jamaican season leader at 800 meters and the runner-up at the SEC Indoor Championships over 800 meters. Last year he was competing in the 400 at the outdoor meet. And then Sam Austin, we talked about how deep this group is of Gators 800 meter runners. He leads that incredibly strong group over this event. Those guys here in Gainesville, this means an awful lot to them to have an opportunity to compete for a conference championship, not only in their individual events, but for a team title. You can imagine for all of them to do that, be able to hoist a team trophy at the end of this competition, that is really what's motivating this group. But they know what it takes is advancing the numbers on, doing whatever it takes to load that field on Saturday.
It's good to have the numbers, but you've got to get them through to the final. That's the key. So same criteria, winner only through to the final. They saw how fast the first heat went. So those who are not the winners want to make certain they're in that low to mid 148 area on time in order to advance to Saturday's final. And early on, that is Matt Swanson, the sophomore from LSU. He is in the early lead, followed closely by Tyrese Reed. And Sam Austin is right there in third.
I believe that's actually Miguel Pantojas currently in third. Sam Austin just behind him. Sam Austin is such a pro at advancing on to the finals. He's made 5 different SEC finals in the course of his career. So one of those who certainly leads this group, as you see that split time a little bit quicker certainly than the first heat.
51.3 the first 400 turned by Matt Swanson. So that is definitely more aggressive than heat number 1 at 52.8. Now Tyrese Reed looking to take the lead on that backstretch. They do have some wind at their backs at that point. You can see Sam Austin with that 6 on his singlet now powering down lane number 2, trying to get into contention going into the turn. Reed is making him stay on the outside, and you can see he's really working hard as Sam Austin. That quick early pace set by Swanson taking its toll on a lot of these runners. Reed trying to hold on for the victory. Austin comes back after fading and will win the heat and automatically advance. Reed trying to hold on. And you can see there the winning time, 148.13 unofficially, but it's been corrected to 147.77 with Reed at 148.07. Both those times should advance.
What a gritty effort from the Gator to take the win in this heat. Look, he starts to fade, kicks in, finds another gear, and I don't know that Reed had enough awareness to see him coming because there was no response. What a kick, what an effort from Sam Austin. You think that's going to inspire the rest of the guys who are coming in these next 2 heats to fight for every inch?
Well, I was just about to say, I don't think 149 anything is going to advance. If those 2 heats are any indication, there are the final results with 5 of the runners under 149. So the bubble is already under 149, 148.88. Miguel Pantojas, he has to hope that everybody in heats 3 and 4 don't run under 148.88, or else he will not be watching this race from the track. He'll be watching from the stands as we get ready now for heat number 3. And this heat features the collegiate leader, the junior from 800U, Texas A&M. This young man has really come into his own this year, and is kind of enjoying the fact that he's got a target on his back.
I think that that's a possibility, and I think that the cool thing about conference meets is that it's really all up in the air. You can come in with whatever time you want, but if you don't race on that day at that time, you might walk away with nothing. So this is we're in conference play now. It's really anybody's game. I think it's kind of a privilege and an honor to potentially be a target or be a contender, and I think that's really special and really cool. And I definitely don't want to forget that that's an opportunity that I need to step up to.
And this opportunity that he has is so special because of all that Sam Whitmarsh, all the adversity that he has overcome to get healthy and get to this outdoor season. It has been injury, illness, multiple heart procedures to correct a heart condition that he had early on in his career. Pat Henry is so excited for the opportunity that Sam has, purely just to be healthy and then also to be in that conversation of 800-meter runners. Not only has he run that 1:44.46 back in March, he followed that up with a 1:45.02 split at the Penn Relays to run their winning leg of that 4x8.
On your mark.
There are the lane assignments. You see Sam Whitmarsh there in lane number 6. Marcus Dropic of Ole Miss right on his outside will present a bit of a challenge and a rabbit through this first turn. Whitmarsh, not only the collegiate leader, he is the U.S. leader at this point and has been twice the runner-up. So he is looking for his first title at this conference meet.
Did win the indoor championship, but certainly in pursuit of an outdoor championship. And in addition to that very long signature stride, a bit of a new look, though, with the mustache from Sam Whitmarsh. I like it. A little swagger for the Aggies.
Chase Ruskin of Florida looks to be rabbiting the race. Very quick turnover, but Whitmarsh with those long strides having no trouble keeping up.
Marcus Dropic in threatening position 2 as they approach the bell lap.
Whitmarsh takes the lead and splits it, looks like 50 point. That was 51 flat for Whitmarsh, so only slightly faster than heat number 2, but now he has taken over with Dropic right there, corrected to 50.8 for Whitmarsh, so well within himself, but a very aggressive first 400 meters. And it's pretty much, hey, come and get me. I'm the collegiate and U.S. leader.
And part of it is so smart because he does have such a long stride. You see how tall he is. He has to stay out of trouble and not get caught up in some of the traffic like you saw in that early heat. But Dwight, look how easy he makes this look right now after clocking 50.8 in the first heat. Now it's going to be a fight behind him.
Ryan Maisman of Florida in hot pursuit knows this is a fast time and wants to be in the slipstream of Whitmarsh in order to get a time good enough to advance him. Now Whitmarsh just shutting it down, looking over at the clock, and cruises through at 1:46.30 officially. By far the fastest of the 3 heats, and automatically qualifies through to the final.
He talked about having a target on his back. What a way to put one on, accentuate the target with a preliminary heat like that. Coach Pat Henry said Sam's always been a worker. Now he understands how to believe in himself and his abilities. You think that's belief right there, running a preliminary heat to qualify in a 1:46.3. Excited to see what he will able to do. So relaxed that he's able to take a glance up at the video board. Like you said, completely shut it down and trot in those final 20 meters or so.
There are the official results, and Ryan Maisman of Florida in second place becomes the bubble. He is the 9th qualifier, basically, if the event was to stop now. And before the 4th heat, let's go downstairs to Fernando, who has the winner, Sam Whitmarsh.
Sam, well, your thoughts?
It was a good race. It was a good run. Great competition. Great day to step on the track.
Last night you told me you got to keep your smile, so you're smiling now.
Trying my best to. Trying my best to.
How's the heat for you? I mean, and what do you do to get ready for tomorrow or for Saturday's finals?
Yeah, how is the heat, like the sun? Oh man, College Station is pretty similar, but to kind of keep cool, we were all pouring water on ourselves back there. Said to keep preparing. I'm just gonna get rest and try to eat right, and do the little things to make sure that Saturday goes the best that it can go.
There you go. There's a guy that's going to try to keep cool, and guys that are keeping cool upstairs are Dwight and the crew.
All right, Fernando, Sam Whitmarsh really looks poised to get his first conference title in this event.
And he's a Texas kid. He's from Lake Jackson, so he's familiar with the heat. This is nothing that's going to rattle him, in addition to, of course, training in College Station as we prepare for what should be a very spicy Heat 4.
There is Parvesh Khan of Florida, one of 7 entries they had in this event over 4 heats. He was a bit of a surprise in the indoor when he eclipsed Anas Asai for the mile title. Asai was going for a 3-peat, and Asai also in this heat.
Khan has entered in both the 800 and in the 1500, looking to maximize those scoring opportunities. And Anas Asai had an opportunity to talk to his coach at South Carolina, Brock Moreau. He said he's been such a joy to get to work with, and he's a phenomenal talent on the track. They, though, had to overcome some off-track challenges over the course of this past year. So opting for the 800 was really a mutual decision. Anas presented him with the idea, and Brock was completely on board. Coach Moreau said that this is a good opportunity for him to switch things up and potentially benefit him in the long run. He, of course, is an Olympian for Morocco in the Tokyo Games, has competed at the World Championships. So among those, Dwight, who's aiming for a very long summer.
3 South Carolina Gamecocks in this 4th and final heat with a bubble at 1:48.64. If you do not win the heat, you've got to be under that time if you want to advance to Saturday's final. Smart of Asai to go down to the 800, get some speed in, prolong his season, as he will be competing for his country in Paris in August.
His teammates doing the early work there up front to set the pace. Stacked heat, as you mentioned, for South Carolina, and a little bit of a trip there, some early traffic there up front. So both Khan and Asai are doing a great job of staying out of all of that because both have phenomenal closing kicks.
Asai has already said he will bypass his senior year at South Carolina. He is only a junior.
That's Joshua Kazgai there up front for South Carolina.
Chase Rose, the tall figure there in lane number 2. And this heat went out quite a bit slower, even with the rabbit that's out there in front. So winning this heat has become even more of a premium, as it's doubtful that the second place finisher will get under the bubble unless they really pick up the pace.
Now we see Khan in pursuit down the backstretch. Look, he's all the way out into lane 3 to try to get around that pack, exerting a lot of extra energy to get up there, but no panic whatsoever in that face, in that stride. And Anas Asai looking very strong as well. This is going to be a phenomenal final 100 meters, Dwight.
Well, this is a little reminiscent of the indoor championships. Khan coming from way back. That's Rose on the rail, and now it is a sprint race between Asai of South Carolina and Khan, and it looks like Asai is going to win it. Khan better keep going because he's got to run fast enough to try to get through on time. And we will have to see what his second place time was. 1:46.42 unofficially for Asai. I don't think that he was going that fast. We're waiting for the official times to be posted, but there's some delay. 1:47.54. That's the wrong athlete, isn't it? Yes, he's got the wrong athlete. Khan may have just gotten under the bubble at 1:48.23, it appears, and he knew it. He was digging for that line. Watch this finish.
You see how well Asai responds once he feels that pressure of Parvesh Khan on his shoulder. Senses him right there, kicks in. That's how easy he can switch gears. Really great response from him. Look at the quick turnover, too, of Parvesh Khan. What you like to see from Anas Asai is it's not forced. Although he was able to quicken his pace, he didn't have to force it to get the victory in that heat. And Khan was so aware of the time he needed. He's glancing at the clock as he finishes, was not at all worried about the place, but acutely aware of the time it would take to get in. Are you excited for Saturday yet, Dwight? Because I am.
Yeah, that was a great race, and of course it'll go out faster on Saturday. I have to suspect. And Khan did just barely make it by digging for that finish line in second place. Asai through, obviously, by winning the heat, and there are your advancers. And it turns out that Plowden of Auburn actually ended up being the final qualifier. But look at that. The last 3 within 4/10 of each other. 12 runners under 149, and only 9 will be in the final. An amazing men's 800-meter set of preliminaries. Sam Whitmarsh making it look easy. So the men are done. Now time to turn our attention to the women. There are 3 heats of the women's. There is the collegiate record by Olympic champion, world champion, American record holder Athing Mu, her freshman year at Texas A&M, and Michaela Rose, both the meet record holder and the collegiate leader. And also in this heat, she was a great runner in high school and has only gotten better since then. And when it came to what events she should run, father knew best.
He just knew that I was an 800 runner. I started running cross country first because that was like the first season of the year. And then like when I started track, I did the longer events, like the 800 and the 15. Yeah, the 800's just always been my favorite event. And I think maybe like my sophomore year in high school, I did the 4 hurdles, but it was still the 800 was my main thing.
The defending NCAA outdoor 800-meter champion, and she opened this 2024 outdoor season with a collegiate record in the 600. Less than a month later, ran that second fastest 800 in collegiate history. She has a couple of teammates in this as well. LSU among those who are contending for a team title on the women's side, so she'll have her teammate Montana Monk in this heat as well. Sorry, one other teammate. There are 3 LSU Tigers in the 800 entirely. You will see Lorena Rangel-Batrez a little bit later, but distance coach Houston Franks told me he almost thought about entering Michaela in the 8:15 double until she ran so well on their 4x4, clocking a 51:29 split, that he thought, okay, let's just stick with the 8 and have you there running a leg of the 4x400. Also to mention, Dwight, she is certainly among the conversation in what is going to be an incredible field of American middle distance runners in this event who are contending at the Olympic trials.
So the qualifying criteria different here for the women, as there are only 3 heats. The top 2 finishers in each of these 3 heats will automatically advance, and then the next 3 fastest non-automatic qualifying times over the 3 heats. So a premium on first and second here, not quite as daunting as the men, but still with Michaela Rose in your heat, you got to know that you're up against an awful lot of competition. She has run so well during the indoor season, carried it into the outdoor season, a leading contender to be on our Olympic team later this summer.
Always likes to get out there and go up to the front. That is what we see from her time and time again when she steps onto the track, so pushing the rest of the field to run her race. And she likes to typically get out pretty aggressively in that opening 400.
Already a gap that's developed for about 7 meters between her and second place. She goes through around 59 flat, which is very comfortable for her. And she's still well out in front of the chase pack. 59.1 now officially for that first 400. Now she's working this second or third 200, I should say, and look at the gap that developed in just about 150 meters.
And part of this comes from that aerobic engine that they built her freshman year. She really invested in running cross country, building the strength that she needed, and that's what's paying off for her so far this year. And look at the impressive display that she has with 200 meters to go.
Last year she set the record in the heats, breaking 2 minutes, running 1:59.73.
That was on her home track as well. We were in Baton Rouge for that meet. Takes a quick glance back to see just how comfortable that lead has grown to. And then look at the fight behind her. That is Kelsey Schweitzer of Missouri, who was 5th indoors.
Schweitzer and Haywood of Tennessee going for that second qualifying spot. It's going to be Haywood getting it. 2:04.52 for Michaela Rose. She really shut it down that last 200. Haywood did get the second spot, and then Kelsey Schweitzer finishing 3rd.
Got to note that great close from Kamaya Haywood. She's a Jacksonville native, a product of Bishop Kenny High School, so has a ton of friends and family who are here to watch her compete at the SEC Championships. Here is where Michaela Rose kind of cruises in because of that massive lead that she was able to build. Takes that glance over her shoulder coming into the home stretch, but watch the fight behind her. That is Haywood and Schweitzer there to the finish. As Rose is coasting through, that is going to pay off for her into the final. Haywood digging really deep. She is an emerging middle distance star for the Tennessee Volunteers. She's going to be one to watch in an exciting 800-meter race on Saturday.
There are the official results. Rose winning it, Haywood getting the second automatic qualifier. That is indeed Kelsey Schweitzer. She is Carissa Schweitzer's younger sister. And the winner, Michaela Rose, is downstairs with Fernando.
Michaela, well, you had more of a bigger challenge from the win than the competition today.
Nah, it's survive and advance, so my main thing was just get out and stay out of trouble.
Where does this stand according to your plans?
Perfectly, just try to get through the rounds as easily as possible without getting into trouble, getting into traffic, or getting tripped up, so yeah.
So what's next? What do you do? Where are you going from here?
Go back to the hotel, get some rest, recover, cheer on my teammates, and prepare for finals.
Any TV?
Any TV?
Are you watching any TV?
I'm watching This Is Us, if that counts.
There you go. This is you now.
This is me.
Back to you, Dwight.
All right, Fernando. She is safely through. As we get ready for the heat number 2, the early bubble is 2:07 flat. I'm not sure that will change after this heat. There is from South Carolina, the sophomore Sylvia Shalangat, 2023 SEC Outdoor 800-meter runner-up. She's looking to step up because she lost to Michaela Rose also last year.
And South Carolina distance coach Brock Moreau is really excited about her and what she can do on this stage. Sydney Steely of Kentucky. Keep in mind that not only last year at this championship meet did she score in the 800, she also scored in the steeplechase. So she is an incredibly strong athlete for the Wildcats, has immense ability at both those disciplines, and just kind of one of those willing to do it all for the sake of the team.
Steely in 6, Shalangat in 7. Top 2 advancing to Saturday's final.
Interesting team implications here. 2 Missouri Tigers, 2 Kentucky Wildcats, 2 Razorbacks in this field, both of those on the outside of the track as well. And in focusing a bit on Sylvia Shalangat, this past fall was her first season of cross country, and that is something that Coach Moreau really credits to her development. That's something that has paid off for her this outdoor season. She had a bit of an injury. She was looking super strong going into December, battled through some things during the indoor season, and then she has just been on this crescendo over the course of the outdoor season, finally getting into really good racing opportunities, which have built her confidence coming into Gainesville.
Well, Michaela Rose in the interview stated it so well, and all these athletes know this. It's beaten into their heads by their coaches. It's survive and advance.
Yeah, that's why those rankings, performance lists, you toss all of that out the window, right? It's all about racing when you get to a championship meet.
It's all about getting to the final, because in the final, anything can happen. People get into a crowd, they get tripped. Weather conditions change. If you aren't in the final, you can't race the final. And a lot of pushing and shoving going on, which is very dangerous, so that's the way you go down.
And indicates that this might be a bit of a slower pace than what we just saw in the opening heat of these rounds of qualifying, and you're seeing everybody is into the thick of it. You'd like for Shalangat to push this pace just a little bit, because she can go through in 58 seconds and still feel really relaxed and maintain composure through 600 meters should she need to.
Sydney Steely is in the lead. She goes through in about 63, much slower than did Michaela Rose, but she really can't gauge anything from that. 63.2 for Steely, with Shalangat right there behind her. Remember, it's the top 2 automatically advancing on the women's side, as there are only 3 heats. The early bubble 2:07.
And this is affording Sylvia the opportunity to just run really relaxed, having almost a rabbit out there in front of her, and just maintain contact on the shoulder of Sydney Steely. Steely, though, has that great strength that she can draw upon. For Sylvia Shalangat, Coach Moreau wants her to get through 600 meters clean, and then she's gonna have more in the tank. There is that tank right there. She's able to dip into that speed.
Shalangat now stretching out her stride. She followed Steely for the first 700 meters and then took over. Steely comfortably in second place, will automatically advance. And Shalangat finishing easily, unofficially 2:05.18, with Sydney Steely second. It's been corrected to 2:04.81. We need to watch that because that's a pretty large discrepancy between the unofficial and the official. But Chalagat, your winner, Steele second, safely through to Saturday's final.
Here is a bit of that trouble. You know, you heard Michaela Rose like, get through, stay out of trouble. Well, here's the trouble that you're trying to avoid as you see Arkansas, Kentucky, South Carolina, Missouri, almost everybody a bit entangled there on the turn. That's because everyone tries to collapse to try to get on the rail at this point and avoid running as much extra distance as possible. Chalagat navigated that, as did Steele, very, very well to get on through. Look at that. Arms extended. You think she's confident going into the final with a run like that in the prelim? Certainly she should be. Great motion there on the upper body to drive those legs. Sydney Steele does a great job too of hanging right there with her, being in good position.
There are the final results. No Arkansas, no Missouri advancing, as they are already over the bubble time, which was 2:07 flat. Arkansas counting on those qualifiers getting through and scoring points in the final. So third and final heat in the women's 800-meter preliminaries. And this heat featuring Lorena Rangel Batres of LSU, the senior, as well as from Mexico. She's run 2:03 flat, finished runner-up in the mile at the SEC Indoor.
And we have seen her do the double 1500-8 a number of times. The SEC championships, Coach Houston Frank said she and Michaela are just two of the best teammates, most coachable, best students, very mature. They're both laid back, they have fun, and certainly lead by example. Hey, Dwayne, you mentioned Arkansas and the points standings. This is someone they're banking on, Sanu Jallow, incredibly impressive athlete, ran 2:01.77 indoors on their home track in Fayetteville. Coach Chris Johnson said she has big time ability. When she ran that 2:01, it was no surprise based on her training, and she's really proven to be formidable when she runs her own race.
Transfer from Texas A&M, which I've already referred to as 800U.
On your marks.
So Jallow in 6, Rangel Batres in 7. No movement on the bubble, still 2:07 flat, according to our crack statistician Tom Lewis. Jallow going out, certainly aware of the troubles Arkansas having so far, getting none of their 800-meter runners through. Jallow, Rangel Batres 1 and 2 early on, with Kylie Gale of Georgia, the junior there, transfer from South Carolina with a 9 on her singlet. And from Ole Miss, that is Jo Lauren Keene right in there in the thick of things.
Batres not only has run 2:03 flat, but she's also reached 5 conference finals in the course of her LSU career. That's really impressive. Jessica Edwards of Florida right there in the thick of it as well as they go to the bell.
Looks like right around 61 seconds, 62 now. It says 62 flat, everybody right there. Jallow controlling the pace so far. Rangel Batres right there behind her, as she has been. And that is Jo Lauren Keene in third.
Jallow and Batres have done a great job of kind of evading any of that traffic, separating themselves. And Batres goes on the rail, moving on the inside to get around Jallow. Jallow left her way too much room there to sneak through as they go to the final 200 meters. Jallow with the response. She is hanging in right there on the hip of Batres.
I noticed that she was given the rail right before the bell, and I thought, I wonder if anybody will try to go through there. Batres did so. They're easily 1-2 though. Batres and Jallow will qualify through to Saturday's final. And Batres will take the victory. Right around 2:05 flat unofficially, with Jallow second. So Arkansas does get a finalist in the women's 800, but only one. So I know there's some wind there on the backstretch at their backs because it was blowing pretty good when I came to the track today. So that presents some issues. You can see the flag blowing in that direction. 204.97 now officially, just under 205 flat for Batres of LSU.
And what she has to be happy about is not just the time, not just winning the heat, but how well she executed this race, how efficiently and how tactically sound this race was from her. She is a veteran at SEC championships, one who just knows, has a knack for making those finals. And this was just a really balanced effort from her. Jallow got out there fast, kind of let her foot off the gas a little bit, but then responded really, really well. Both these athletes incredibly composed. When you have someone like Sanu Jallow, who's run 201, 205 is going to feel super comfortable. So she has plenty in her legs going into the finals, and you would expect Batres to do that double as well. Be out tomorrow on the track to try to qualify in the 1500.
So there are your advancers, and it did take 207 flat to get in, or better, as you see the times there. Michaela Rose, obviously a huge favorite, but Batres, her teammate, has certainly benefited from training with the phenomenal junior Michaela Rose. That'll be a great race on Saturday as well. And only the winner is going to automatically qualify, and then the 3 fastest times after that. As you look at the collegiate record, still held by Walter Dix of Florida State. Terrence Laird has the meet record. Collegiate leader is Tarsis Oragot, and he is amongst the sprinters in this field. 6 heats, as I mentioned. So a real premium on winning as we take a look in lane 7 and the Mississippi State freshman, Jordan Ware.
Well, and how this guy ended up at Mississippi State, I am not sure. The Tennessee high school champion in the both 100 meter and 200 meters in 2022 and 23. There you see him. He'll be out in lane 7. I'll tell you what, though, Dwight, there's been some grumbling here about the lane draw and some of the way these heats were set up, because as we see in this first heat of the 200 meters, we've got a host of Tennessee athletes, and so 4 Mississippi State athletes, 3 Tennessee athletes in the first heat. Only Brandon Miller is the only athlete outside of those 2 teams here in this first heat. But we've got some quality competition here. We'll move from Jordan Ware now out in lane 7. We'll go down, clear down to the inside lane. They make that inside lane on these fast turns, the 200 meters. Javante Harding from Tennessee, and we're certainly familiar from him, seeing him run indoors. He had to bounce back after a bad indoor season last year in 2023 after winning the NCAA Indoor Championships in 2022. He has not had a really great outdoor season, but he is healthy, and we'll see if he can make another bounce back into championship season like he did last year.
One of those athletes who followed their coach down here from North Carolina A&T. There are the lane assignments, flush with Volunteers and Bulldogs.
Check a lane 6 there. That's Big EB, Emmanuel Bynum. His specialty is the 400 meters, but he also runs 200 very well. And we didn't see Javante Harding. That was actually Devontae Howell in lane 4 that the camera was on. Harding on the inside. There you see him on the far left. Always wears, looks like high socks, but those are just calf wraps. But he's gone 20:48 this season.
That's Howell in lane 4. So it's tough to just know that you have to be the heat winner to advance for sure. Indoors is all on time. So this is a little bit of an improvement for these sprinters. They'll get that wind as soon as they come off the curve. And early on it is Devontae Howell out well in lane 4, but here comes Jordan Ware, and now Javante Harding just explodes off the turn, getting that tailwind, but it is Jordan Ware who's going to win the heat. Unofficially 20:59. Corrected to 20:62. So that wind is taking its toll as they run into it on the turn. Ware wins the heat with Harding second, Emmanuel Bynum third.
Well, a little bit different setup here at the University of Florida. They're running away from us in the opposite direction, and the wind usually blows down that back straight in the late afternoons. But there you see Jordan Ware in lane 7. You see the tall figure on the outside in the all-dark uniform really open up his stride in the last 70, 80 meters. You see what makes him such a high class recruit coming out of high school there. You see him third from the left. Javante Harding on the inside. He got a really good start. He ran his first 140 meters very strongly, but it was the long-legged Jordan Ware out of Memphis, Tennessee, now competing as a bulldog, winning that heat. 20:62, good start for him.
And there are 5 heats remaining, so Harding and Bynum have really got to take a look and see what happens with the times going forward. There's only 3 advancers on time available as a result of having 6 preliminary heats. So we move along to heat number 2, featuring Robert Gregory, the senior from Florida, who gets the outside lane draw. He will be in lane 8 in this second heat. He is the defending champion, running 2012 last year.
Well, he really came to our attention at that SEC championship meet. It was late in the evenings. It looked like a lot of people were running out of gas, but Robert Gregory just managed it better than everybody else. He still looked like he had strength at the end of a long SEC championships there at LSU. But Robert Gregory, this is the Florida makeup of their sprinters. Guys who can run the 200 meters. They can go up to the 400 meters, but they also can put all these guys on the 4x1 as well. But there he is. There's Dario Matau. He's a newcomer for Auburn, just a junior. The transfer from Lenoir-Rhyne, 3-time Division II runner up there, but he's out of South Africa. I talked to Ken Harnden and Leroy Burrell, and I said, "You guys ever recruit any Americans?" And he said, "You know how hard it is to get Americans here at Auburn? There's so many other schools for them to choose from, and so they go to the junior colleges and find a lot of these foreign guys." But Matau is an outstanding runner, a junior, just 22 years old. He has gone 20:63. He did that on this track earlier this season.
So after one heat, the bubble is 20:88. We'll keep an eye on that as it's for certain to come down. This is the way they run the 200 meters at UCLA, and always have, because of the way the wind is there. So I'm used to this.
Set.
Oh, and that looks like a jump by Dylan Bedell, the junior from LSU. And unless there is some reasonable reason, he will not be contesting this heat. He will get a red card, and we will be down to 5 sprinters in this second preliminary heat.
Well, the officials will get together. That clearly looked like a false start, and really the only way that he wouldn't be called for a false start is if there was some external noise happening down on that end of the track that really caused him to jump. But that was so blatant. Nobody else moved. He did. There's the red card.
So Bedell is out of the heat, which leaves 5 remaining.
Try it again. On your mark.
Not something you see very often anymore, as the rule from high school all the way through to the Olympics and World Championships and everything else is one false start and you are eliminated. Except in the multi-events where you can have one false start.
Set.
Fair start the second time around. And Jaden Reed of LSU running a fine turn. But now here comes Robert Gregory. Matau trying to get into the mix. It is Gregory on the outside in the black of Florida. He is going to win the heat and advance to Saturday's final, followed by Jaden Reed from the Cayman Islands, the freshman from LSU. 20:29 for Gregory. We're not getting any wind readings up here. So a fine preliminary run by Robert Gregory, the defending champion. Shows everybody how it's done.
Well, Jaden Reed from LSU there in the purple uniform on the inside, he got a fantastic start. Just a 19-year-old from the Cayman Islands. Look at him shuffle around the turn, that first 100. And I think having a fast starter like that in this race, there you see Robert Gregory on the outside. He was able to respond with about 80 meters to go. But Robert Gregory is one of those guys, the coaches talk about him. He's such a hard-working guy. He leads by example each and every day in these really tough workouts and this tough training group. I love a guy like him in your group, though. 20:29 outstanding time here in the first round, but I guarantee you he knows every lane on that back straight and has trained in every single one of them over the last couple of seasons that he's spent here in the swamp.
Okay, so get this about that 20:29. It's the fastest qualifier in meet history. And it is also, at least according to what we're getting, wind 1.5 meters headwind. And he runs 20:29. Wow. Okay. He is a defending champion, and he did just run the fastest qualifier in meet history. So we move along to heat number 3. And Lance Lang of Arkansas, he will start for the Razorbacks in lane number 4.
So Doug Case, sprint coach at Arkansas, said he was going to be sad to see Lance Lang go because his final season, the Swiss Army sprinter who can do everything, kind of joked about that. And talking to Doug Case, and he said he's a great guy to have around practice. He's motivational to a lot of the other athletes, but he can just do anything. You can put him anywhere in your lineup, and he gives you the best that he absolutely has there. So Lance Lang in his final SEC championship. There you see Nick Harbor on the outside lane 7. They got to put this guy on lane 7. There's no room for him. Recruited out of high school to play tight end. Now he's a wide receiver for the South Carolina Gamecocks, only 18 years old. We saw him run indoors a little bit. 6'5", 242 pounds out of Washington, D.C., but he ran 20:68 at the Tom Jones Invitational. Love it. Football player coming down and running some track and field.
3 Razorbacks in this heat, and Nick Harbor definitely not a high jumper at 6'5", 242. By the way, the bubble, 2079 after 2 heats. And that is Lance Lang, who is getting it done in this turn. He just blew the doors off of his sophomore Trevon Williams in lane number 3. It is Lance Lang who's going to try to hold off Nick Harbor, and Lang is going to win the heat and automatically qualify through to Saturday's final. 20:34 officially for Lang, and that was a 0.3 meter tailwind. So the wind is switching around in that backstretch, and Gregory just happened to get it in the face and still ran 20:29. But a fine run by the Swiss Army sprinter in lane number 4, Lance Lang.
Well, you see the experience with Lance Lang. He really does a good job pushing hard in the first 50, 60 meters. He runs that turn beautifully. And Coach Bucknam said, I know Lance Lang is running well when he tilts his head. He gets that little head tilt. We've seen it in the indoor championships. Then he stands up nice and tall. Made Nick Harbor really make a run at him on that back straight. But you could see it took Nick Harbor a little bit of time in that first 100 meters to really open up that stride. Absolutely amazing that a guy that size can run that fast in the 200 meters. But a solid start to the final SEC championships for Lance Lang.
That's a season best for Lang, and also an automatic qualifier into the finals and the number 9 time in the NCAAs this year. Nice timing for the Arkansas senior as we move along to heat number 4 of 6. The bubble at 20:75. Slowly but surely going down. And this heat featuring on the outside in lane 9, Makanakesha Sharamba of Zimbabwe and Auburn. He will be out in lane number 9. He has a transfer from Carson Newman. So like you were saying, Leroy is trying to get him from wherever he possibly can.
Well, we expected some of the other Auburn runners to get through to the finals in the indoor championships, and Sharamba was one of the only Auburn sprinters. He got 8th in that final, but it was amazing because he had only come in at the break and hadn't spent a lot of time with the Auburn Tigers. But there's DeMarcus Fleming, and this is the guy, SEC champion, NCAA champ. That 4x100 meter relay was on point last year. And I think he's the guy who really makes that relay go. He's outspoken. Said last year they ran with a chip on their shoulder. He knows everybody's going to be chasing them. Here's an opportunity for him to make good in an individual event. He's gone 20-50. He did that here at the Tom Jones Invitational. We're going to mention that meet a lot because so many great times came earlier this spring on this track.
On your mark.
So looking over the flag, it looks like they might have a tailwind when they come down the back stretch. DeMarcus Fleming in 6th, the senior from LSU. Charamba of Auburn, the junior, out in lane number 9, left on your screen. If you're not the heat winner, you need to get under 20:75 so far. You might want to try to run faster than that even to make sure.
Set.
Denarian Ard of Mississippi State is out well. Now here comes Charamba out on the outside, and on the inside DeMarcus Fleming, or in the middle of the track I should say, and also Salim Epps. But it is going to be Charamba out in lane number 9 of Auburn, winning the heat and automatically qualifying 2020 the flash time. It corrects to 2017 with just a 0.2 tailwind. You can't even feel it. So that now becomes the fastest qualifier run in the 200 meters. And I can see by the times this bubble is going to come down significantly.
Well, let's take a look on the outside. The tall figure on the outside, Charamba of Zimbabwe. Just a junior, transferred over from Carson Newman, Division II school, but look, he just makes it look easy on the outside. When you got great coaches like Ken Harden and certainly Leroy Burrell, you know you're going to get coached up there at Auburn, but we just talk about, you know, all their kids are junior college transfers and they are making it pay off. But a nice tall runner there, and these times 2017, goodness.
Number 2 time in the NCAAs this year, a new conference best in a qualifier, 2017 for the junior from Auburn. Makanakashi Charamba of Zimbabwe has just thrown in an interesting little nugget in the 200 meters that Robert Gregory may need to take notice of, and the bubble goes way down to 20:51 with 2 heats remaining. All right, heat number 5, and on the inside in lane 4, the Kentucky senior Kennedy Leitner, 4-time SEC finalist. He knows how to run in the SEC.
Well, he certainly does, and he's on this everlasting quest to break that Kentucky school record. And you know who has it, Dwight? Lance Lang. Lance Lang's got it, and Kennedy Leitner would love to have it, but he just keeps chasing after it. I saw him run at the Drake relays recently. The whole Kentucky squad did a great job in really cold conditions at the Drake relays. Asked Lonnie Green, why do you go to Drake? And he says, one of my favorite meets. We get a lot of work in. We know how to win at Drake. But they're running against a lot of smaller schools. But Kennedy Leitner did a wonderful job on all the relays. There's Wanye McCoy. We got a chance to see him run indoors this season as well. But he pulled up in the 200-meter final. But he has gotten through that here. And you figure somebody like McCoy, he's got a target on his back, one of the fastest guys in the country. But Coach Holloway has got these guys feeling like there's less pressure to perform here at home. They're used to their surroundings and the environment here, and there's no reason to feel more pressure because you're at home.
McCoy was the SEC indoor 200-meter champion from the Bahamas. So the flag is pretty well down, hanging straight. The last couple of heats have been just barely over 0.0, not a lot of help. Leitner in 4, McCoy in 7.
Set.
Matthew Weaver of Alabama out there on the outside. McKay from LSU chasing, but here goes Wanye McCoy. Leitner's got some work to do. Also, Malik Smith Band also there. Here comes Leitner, but he's going to run out of real estate. It's going to be Wanye McCoy who eases up at the tape to take the victory and the automatic qualifying position. 20:45 with a minus 1.8. So he had a pretty stiff headwind that the flag did not indicate was going on at all.
Well, let's look at Wanye McCoy. Here he is, third from the left. He's out there in lane 7. Look at this first 100 meters and how much control he really runs with. It's not till he comes off the turn that he's able just to stand up a little bit, open that stride, but still down the back straight. He almost looks as if he's holding back just a tiny bit. Kennedy Leitner really had to do a lot of work on the inside, and I don't think Wanye McCoy is limping at all. He just has it looks like he's just running under a little bit of control, but we did see him pull up. It was at the NCAA meet in the 200s with about 50 meters to go. But based on his times in the outdoor season, he's indicating that he is healthy.
Well, with one heat remaining, Kennedy Leitner is the bubble at 20:51. And currently Tennessee with no sprinters into the final, which you never would have predicted with the group that they have. But so far that is the case. And that race was run into a 1.8 meter headwind. That's the real problem with this kind of way of qualifying, is that sometimes you get a tailwind, sometimes you get a headwind. So, you know, it's a Tarsus Oregot sighting when you see socks like that. Second, the 200 meters NCAA Indoor Championships. This guy has got an amazing amount of potential and a good sense of humor as well.
Yeah, I've been doing this for a very long time, ever since I started running. Yeah, I just keep wearing different animations, different styles that I feel like I want to express myself given the day.
A man after my own heart.
Yeah, I recall you expressing yourself in your choice of T-shirts back in the day. Yes,
I was always faithful to my Glendale High School socks, though. Couldn't jump without them. Couldn't clear my throat without them. Oregot of Alabama, the junior, he is going to be starting in the middle of this group in lane number 6. He has shown flashes of absolute brilliance, usually in the preliminaries where we think, oh my gosh, you can't beat this guy. But you never know which Tarsus Oregot you're going to get in the final.
And you know how fast he's going because of how fast the wings on his socks are
flapping.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
It's like a wind rating there.
Well, Coach Blaine Wiley at Alabama said he's still figuring out how to run the 200 meters. And I said, biggest difference from last year to this year. And he said, it's just race execution. He's understanding how to run the race a little bit better. They are constantly working on his start. And he knows he just, part of this whole race execution starts in the blocks, and it builds from there. But they're trying to create a better race execution pattern for him because of the inconsistencies he has shown over the last season.
Oregon is also easy to spot because of the headband. He's going to be right in the middle of the track.
Set.
Final heat of the 200 meters. If you don't win, you got to run under 20:51 if you want to run on Saturday. Tamars McCollum trying to stay with Oregot. Remember, Tennessee with no finalists. It is Oregot and McCollum chasing, but it's going to be Tarsus Oregot of Alabama winning the heat and automatically qualifying through to Saturday's final. 2018 into a 1.3 meter per second headwind, which is about 3 miles an hour in your face. You can feel that. And McCollum of Tennessee does qualify through on time, running 20:33.
Well, let's take a look at the wings on the socks. Are they flapping? It was Shaviq Vasquez of Kentucky that got out really well on the outside, but take a look at Tarsus Oregot. He's got great arm action, good knee drive, and he runs this back straight like he was meant for it. And there you see Tamars McCollum on the inside. Going to be fun to talk about him. He's the fastest 100-meter runner in the fields at the SEC Championships, but Tarsus Oregot made it look easy.
So there are your advancers to final. It took 20:47 to make it into the final 9. with Charamba at 2017 running the fastest, with Orgat just 100th of a second back, and he is downstairs with Fernando.
Well, guys, you know who's got the best looking socks on this track right now, right? Easily Tarsus. You got the fastest time in the qualifiers too, Tarsus.
Oh yeah, oh it is. I even didn't know that. I feel good. This race is all about like trying to get to the next round and focusing on using not as much energy because I have the 100 tomorrow, so I feel good with the performance.
You feel good about competing here because they said you were crazy about coming to the States to compete against the Americans.
Yeah, I'm so happy that I'm able to prove that I can compete at this level and dominate. So that's really pretty much what my mind is all about right now.
You got a double on you?
Yeah, yes, I got a double in me. I can't wait to do the 100 tomorrow.
So that means we'll get to chat to you or with you tomorrow and Saturday.
Yes, sir.
We'll see you Saturday then.
Thank you so much.
Back to you, Dwight.
All right, Fernando, we forgot to mention that Orgat is from Uganda, competing for Alabama, so he is going to be in Paris for representing his country this summer at the Olympic Games. All right, the men are done. Now it's time to focus on the women. There are 5 heats of the 200 on the women's side, and you've got to win the heat on the women's side as well to be an automatic qualifier, as we look at the collegiate record by Abby Steiner, who's having a fine professional career in the 200. Favorite Ophelia has the meet record, and the collegiate leader is Jamisha Ford of South Carolina. She is in the field. So it's the heat winners, and then the next 5 on time should be the next 4 on time, I would think. If there's 5 heat, 9 lanes, it would be the next 4 on time.
That math makes too much sense.
Yeah, and there is Amber Anning of Great Britain, the senior at Arkansas, and she will be out on the outside in lane 8.
Well, noticeably absent from the World Relays in the Bahamas last weekend. She did not run on the 4x4 relay team, but Great Britain got through. Team GB will be in Paris running that 4x4, and you can bet Amber Anning will be on that 4x400 meter relay team, but probably just too much of a trip for her to make and then come back here to the SECs, although Christopher Morales Williams from Georgia, he managed to do it for Team Canada. But Amber Anning, she's had a very light spring. We saw her run a lot indoors, a very successful indoors season, NCAA champion at 400 meters. But here outdoors, she's run on just, she ran at the Texas Relays and then one other meet. So this is only her 3rd meet of the season. There you see Jayla Hollis, the senior from Florida. And she came over from, she transferred, from, I don't even know where she transferred from.
It's not in my notes. You're on your own.
No, but she came over to Florida, and
Arkansas.
Arkansas. It's
yep.
just there's so many. Okay, from Arkansas. I'm trying to picture her in another uniform, and I just really couldn't. But she gave Florida at least some sprinting depth since Talitha Diggs left. She's a sprinter. She does 1-2. She does 1-2 up to 400 meters. When Florida, gives Florida a little bit more opportunity to score some points outside of some of the events that we know they're absolutely going to score some points in.
And Dan, you mentioned Talitha Diggs. We saw her walking around among the post-collegians still training here in Gainesville. We might see if we can get her up here to the booth. You know, she would certainly, I'm sure, be game for that and contributing, talking about not only her Gators competing here, but also the big summer that she has ahead.
There's so much transferring inside the conference anymore. It's hard to keep up with who is where and where they came from. That's for certain. Those are the lane assignments. 6 sprinters in this first of 5 heats.
On your mark.
With Amber Anning, the Arkansas senior, on the outside. She was the NCAA and conference indoor champion at 400 meters and currently 8th in qualifying for the NCAA. We keep mentioning that because they take the top 24 overall times.
Set.
Anning running right into your lap, and right outside her, Tima Godbless of LSU, the freshman from Nigeria, right there with Anning. And on the inside, that is Thelma Davies of LSU. And it is Davies right now in the lead. Anning digging hard near the end. but Davies outleans her. Davies with the victory, and Anning a close second into a slight headwind, 0.5 meters per second.
Well, we didn't mention Thelma Davies setting up this race, but she's somebody who we needed to keep an eye on there on the inside. 24 years old, a senior. She has run extremely quick this season, 22:39. She comes in as the number 4 seed in the conference, but there you see her blazing away on the inside. Amber Anning in her really kind of just smooth style there on the outside. She made up ground after losing a little bit of ground to God Bless, but Thelma Davies with a nice start here to the SEC Championships, her final conference championships, and she's into the finals.
That 22:60 for Davies, the number 5 wind legal time in the NCAAs this year. And I couldn't help but notice with Amber Anning, aside from it doesn't look like she's moving when she's moving, that she's really a 400-meter specialist, and she doesn't have that turnover that you might expect to see from a 200-meter runner, but she's obviously contributing to her team, and a little speed break doesn't hurt either. 22:66 is pretty much guaranteed to get through on time for Amber Anning, but a fine run by Thelma Davies as we move along to heat number 2 of 5. And this heat featuring on the outside Brianna Liston of LSU. She hails from Jamaica, on the Bowerman watch list with the number 3 NCAA qualifying time so far this year.
Well, we didn't see a lot of her last year. Coach Shaver held her back just a little bit, didn't want to ding her up too much. Overtraining got her injured. But this year, as a sophomore, we've seen her run quite a bit. She comes in here with the number 3 200-meter time in the conference, number 2 in the 100-meter, so it'll be fun to turn around and see her run, but just 19 years of age. And there's another youngster, Kayla Jackson from Georgia. All she does is make finals. She entered the NCAA, or the SEC Indoor Championships, not running great times, but she stepped up, made the finals in both, turned around to the NCAA Championships and made the finals in both the 60 and the 200 meters. But talking to Coach Carroll, she says all this girl does is just step up when the lights are the brightest.
Failed to mention that Liston on the outside from LSU was the NCAA Indoor 60-meter champion up in Boston. We brought that event to you. There are the lane assignments. 6 sprinters in this second heat. Reminding you, just the heat winner advancing, and then the next 4 spots will be taken by the people with the fastest non-winning times. Wind has been switching from headwind to tailwind, so it's just a matter of almost luck when you happen to run your race that you maybe get a tailwind instead of a headwind, which affects everybody but the heat winner. So Liston on your left as they ask him to stand up. And there you see Kayla Jackson in the all black of Georgia. 3rd from the left with some kinesio tape on that left hamstring.
I think I could have had another Olympic cycle in me, Dwight, if kinesio tape would have existed back when I competed.
I know what you're saying. I'm telling you.
Seems to be the cure-all.
That's Joanne Reed on the inside, the tall figure in lane number 7, the junior from Jamaica. More of a 400-meter runner, but Arkansas needs points. Plus, it's not bad speed work.
Set.
Liston out well out in there in lane number 8. And Kayla Jackson in hot pursuit. Joella Lloyd of Tennessee trying to get in the mix, but it is Liston on the left with Jackson right there in pursuit. Liston is going to hold off Jackson at the line. And I was surprised to see Jackson kind of shut it down a little early. It is going to be a time qualifier that you're going for there. 22:31 into a 1 meter per second headwind, so just over 2.25 miles an hour or so. You'll feel that running into it on that backstretch. That's a personal best for Liston.
Well, Brianna Liston is a great starter in the 100 meters and the 60, and here she gets out to a really quick start on the outside. No no drag whatsoever when you're in one of those outside lanes on an outdoor track. And she hits the home straight and just stands up nice and tall and relaxes all the way to the finish. There you see Kayla Jackson motoring as well, but this is an outstanding run for her. She went 22:53 earlier this season, and she dips under that 22:31 into a headwind. These times have been incredible here in the 200 meters.
Number 2 wind legal time amongst the collegians this year. Number 5 time in the world so far. I mean, it's still early outdoor season, but it's not the first part of the outdoor season. So a fine run by Liston in this preliminary into a headwind. 22:31. Kayla Jackson, who used her as a rabbit, gets up for second in 22:52. That is sure to qualify through. The bubble currently 23:19.
Well, I want to know, how am I going to be able to watch the Jamaican Olympic trials, because those things are going to be hot. You think about all the female sprinters that Jamaica has now. Who's going to be on that Paris Olympic team? Who's going to be on that relay?
Yeah, their trials in the sprints are almost as good as ours. All right, heat number 3. Take a look down on the inside in lane number 3. The Ole Miss senior, Mackenzie Long. She was the runner-up in the 200 meters earlier this indoor season, but she is the defending champion in this 200-meter event.
Well, I think something that gets lost with Julian Alfred last year at the NCAA championships, we saw her win both the 100 and the 200 meters, but we forget that Mackenzie Long was the runner-up in the 200 meters. She absolutely owned this event outdoors last year. And she doesn't come in here with the fastest time, but she continues to run outstanding 200-meter times. I think the 200 meters will be her choice to run at the Olympic trials. There you see Rosie Effiong, again, a host of 400-meter runners from Arkansas stepping down to run the 200. They did this indoors as well. They scored a ton of points, but the speed work also contributed and helped them run quicker 400 meters.
So bookends, Mackenzie Long down in 3, Rosie Effiong out in 8. Only one can win the heat and automatically qualify through to Saturday's final. There are the lane assignments. The bubble is 23:19. If you don't win the heat, you need to run faster than that to advance.
On your mark.
There is Effiong on the left side of the screen, and then way down on the right, the defending champion, Mackenzie Long.
Set.
And Effiong out well. Brianna White of Tennessee also moving. And here comes the defending champion Long on the inside. It is Long running away with it. Mackenzie Long showing why she is the defending champion. 22:37. She had a .6 aiding wind, a little over a mile per hour at her back. And that's very close to her lifetime best of 22:31, and you can tell she's pleased with that performance.
Well, in the 200 or 400, you love to be where you can see your other competitors, and Mackenzie Long on the inside, and she's not all the way tucked in there to lane 1. She's in lane 3, but you can see everybody else, and she goes flying by them. And we expected Rosie Effiong to be there on the outside, but the second place was an Arkansas runner, and that was the Keisha Price. She had a good run as well, just to the outside of Mackenzie Long.
That's a wind legal season best for Long and the number 8 time in the world this year. Keisha Price at 22:75. We'll have to take a look and see what happens with the bubble with 2 heats remaining, but that could be very close to a bubble time by the time we get all 6 heats in. It's down to 22:83. Brianna White of Tennessee, third in that heat. She is the bubble with 2 heats remaining. And downstairs to Fernando.
Well, I'm just telling Mackenzie the news. You're the number 8 ranked 200-meter runner in the world after that heat.
Yeah, I'm just blessed to be here.
Okay, walk us through that race. You ran it pretty fast, by the way. But walk us through that race. How is the win affecting you girls?
Honestly, I just came in today and just execute, save up for the final day, of course. So I try not to exert all my energy. I'm definitely looking forward to Saturday. So that's the goal.
We're not going to take any more energy from you, Mackenzie. Congratulations. Back to you, Dwight.
All right, Fernando, ready now for heat number 4. And this heat featuring from South Carolina, the freshman Jamisha Ford. She was the NCAA indoor and SEC indoor 200-meter champ, just a freshman, the collegiate leader in 2024.
I talked to Tim Hall, Coach Tim Hall, earlier today, the new coach at South Carolina. I said, I think you won the recruiting lottery in 2023. A lot of people didn't have Jamisha Ford high on their recruiting list. You know, Shanti Jackson certainly was somebody everybody was looking at, but Jamisha Ford has performed the best of all those incoming freshmen, winning NCAA indoor title, and has run some phenomenal times. And she has such great range. She's on the NCAA list in the 100, 200, and the 400 meters. But here she'll go up against the 100-meter world, the number 1 100-meter runner in the world right now. This is Jacia Sears from Tennessee. She's got lane 3. Jamisha Ford will be in lane 4. And again, Dwight, just grumbling from the coaches. No rhyme or reason how these lanes and heats were set up. We've got 2 of the fastest people in the same heat here in the qualifying round.
Yeah, it's when only the heat winner advances automatically, that's really tough. You hate to see maybe somebody left out because there's a big old headwind that comes up, and second place ends up being a time not fast enough to get through. But that's kind of the luck of the draw, as they say. So it is Sears down there on the right of your screen, the number 1 sprinter, 100-meter sprinter in the world right now. And right next to her, Jamisha Ford, which is an advantage for Sears. .2283 is the bubble.
Set.
And Sears and Ford are pretty much stride for stride, both running an outstanding curve. Sears there on the inside, digging hard. Ford staying relaxed, and there Ford, she changes gears. And Sears does not have an answer. Ford wins the heat, 22:47 to Sears at 22:66. And they had a wind that was over the allowable, 2.1 meters per second for the victory. Jamisha Ford, she will advance automatically. 22:66 for Sears. She will certainly also advance. But that's the first over the allowable wind we've had all day.
Well, you see the superior 100-meter speed on the inside there in the white top. That's Jacia Sears. You see her take advantage on that turn, but then as they get to the straightaway, look at the relaxation in Jamisha Ford's pace versus the relaxation in Jacia Sears' pace. Ford, nothing changes down this stretch. There you see Jacia Sears beginning to tie up just a little bit. I know the instruction from Coach Dwayne Ross is going to be she's got to relax in the 200, but Jamisha Ford has done this all season long. And guys, I'll tell you what, she is an outstanding 200-meter runner. We see her run the 100, but she may run the 400 meters at the Olympic trials because she runs 50 flat in that race.
So Ford winning the heat at 22:47. Sears second, inching up very closely to the new bubble, which is 22:75 with 1 heat remaining. That was the only over the allowable wind we've had all day so far. So we'll see what happens with the people in lane 6. But right now, if I'm Jacia Sears, I'm a little bit nervous as we get ready for heat number 5. This is Jayla Jamison of South Carolina, the junior. She will start down in lane number 3, currently number 5 on the NCAA qualifying list.
Well, and honestly, Dwight, I talk about these different heats. Here we see Jayla Jamison. She has run 22:58 this season. She's number 5 seed coming into this heat. But this final heat certainly doesn't look like the other heats where you've got former conference champions, NCAA qualifiers. And so there you see Denisha Page on the outside, 22:61 for her. She ran that in at the at the Desert Heat Invitational at the University of Arizona last week. But it's interesting to see a couple of young ladies here in the 200 meters who didn't get their personal best here at the Tom Jones Invitational. So many of those fast times came, but here in the final heat, we're seeing those fast times come from some different places. But she's a transfer from Rutgers, and Dwayne Ross says she has just been a joy to work with, and she continues to get better each and every week.
So 5th and final heat, bubble 22.75, wind switching from headwind to tailwind throughout these heats, with even an over the allowable tailwind in the last heat.
And we've seen a number of Lady Arkansas Razorbacks here, and here's another one out there in lane 8. This is a youngster, just a sophomore, Ariane Linton, 20 years of age, and you kind of wonder, well, what happens, who steps in when Amber Anning and Rosie Effion step away? It's individuals like Ariane.
Set.
5th and final heat of the women's 200-meter preliminaries, and Denisha Page of Tennessee running a great turn. She's already made up the stagger on Natasha Ballard of Alabama. Jayla Jamison making a late run to try and catch her, but it's Denisha Page that is going to win the heat. And more importantly, what is the time? 22:60. I got to think there was some wind involved there. Jayla Jamison at 22:88, too slow to qualify, 1.0, so about 2.25 miles per hour at her back. She is the only 200-meter runner who will advance out of this 5th and final heat, I should say.
Well, there you see Janisa Page on the right with the white top with the orange bottoms, and the one thing that Coach Dwayne Ross has been telling her all season long is engage, get in the battle early, get in the fight earlier. And there you see Denisha Page after all these weeks. She just steps out of the blocks and she puts her foot to the gas, and she got out in that first 100 meters. And when she did that, it made the second 100 that much easier for her. She didn't have to work as hard, but she had a clear lead from start to finish. Jayla Jamison with a nice run at the finish, but it won't be enough to get her through.
So Page, a personal best with 22:60 by 1/100th of a second. She automatically qualifies, and you see there Nikisha Price at 22:75, the last qualifier through in the women's 200 meters, which we will bring you those finals on Saturday. All right, a little break now as they get ready for the 400-meter hurdles heats. Let's go over to Dan for the women's hammer.
Yeah, we saw the men's. Let's take a look at the women's, looking for more domination from the Ole Miss Rebels. This is Jasmine Mitchell, this senior. This is her first attempt here in the bright sunlight. She'd get things going. Wow, and there you hear her cheering section rooting her on in the first round. 223 feet and 3 inches. She doesn't look happy about that, but that is a pretty good throw. She was 8th at the 2022, 3rd at the 2023 SEC Championships. This is Stephanie Radcliffe, the grad transfer from Harvard. She'd try to break up the sweep of the Rebels. The junior from Georgia on her second round. She'd go 222 feet even. Young ladies from Australia. She won the Ivy League last year, and she was the NCAA champion last year as well. And she would finish in second position. This is Jelani Davis. She's the winner of your indoor weight throw at the SEC Conference Championships and the NCAA Championships, and she'd stay in the mix there with a third round throw of 219 feet, 1 inch. And so just like the men, the Rebels from Ole Miss on the women's side would score a ton of points here in the women's hammer. Jasmine Mitchell winning, Stephanie Radcliffe from Georgia second, Jelani Davis third.
So it takes a while to get those hurdles set up on the back stretch and on the front curve, as that's what they were using for the 200 meters. As we go in for a little live javelin, the women are contesting the event right now. And the wind is going to play havoc in this event as well, because ideally you want a tailwind in the women's javelin, but you're going to get a headwind from time to time, as we've seen during these 200-meter preliminaries and also during the 800.
And there's different javelins with different tips on them that are recommended for headwinds versus tailwinds. And when you got that headwind, that tailwind shifting back and forth, it's sometimes difficult to figure out which javelin you're actually gonna go with.
This is Caitlin Fairchild waiting for her attempt. They're only in the second round. She's thrown 173.10 so far. This is Mackenzie Fairchild, I should say, from Texas A&M. Right now, the event being led by Caitlin Fairchild, 173.10, also from Texas A&M. The second throw by Mackenzie Fairchild. No markings on the field for the lines, so it's anybody's guess what meters those lines are.
They are sisters, Caitlin and Mackenzie, competing for the Aggies, so there's the distinction there.
I saw the one that was a junior and one was a freshman, so I was pretty sure they weren't twins.
When they see Megan Fairchild after this, Fairchild after this throw, she goes right over to longtime coach De La Garza, who has been at Texas A&M maybe about longer than Pat Henry's been at Texas A&M, but he is a stalwart there for the Aggies throwing program.
No improvement for Fairchild in the second round as we get ready for the men's 400-meter hurdles. 3 heats. There's the collegiate record holder, Benjamin, silver medalist at the Olympic Games, and meet record held by decathlete Aiden Owens-Delerme last year. And in this first of 3 heats, Corday Long of Alabama, the senior, will see him in lane number 6.
Well, he stepped up huge at the end of last season and just tells you how tough the SEC championships are. He doesn't finish second at the SEC championships, but he finishes second at the NCAA championships. Both he and Chris Robinson had fantastic NCAA championship performances there. There's Rasheem Griffith, young man from Barbados, the senior at Tennessee. He was 5th last year. There you see. Asked him how he was doing earlier today. He said he is ready to go. This is another strong heat here. A lot of good guys. Jacqueline Scott, one of the best multi-hurdlers in the country. He's a top-rated 110-meter hurdler in the conference. The number 2 rated 110-meter hurdler in the conference. And here he is inside the top 10 in the 400 meters. So Long, Griffith, and Scott there in those outside lanes. They've posted the fastest times coming into the qualifying round here. Corday Long, 48:53 last season, 49:26 just a week ago.
So advancing criterion, the top 2 finishers in each of these 3 heats will automatically qualify through to Saturday. Then the next 3 fastest non-auto qualifying times over the 3 heats. So you're looking to be first or second with as little effort expended as possible. Get tomorrow off, unless you're running another event, which many of these guys will be doing, and then do your final on Saturday. Very even over the first hurdle between the favored 3 on the outside lanes. Rasheem Griffith making a move now. Griffith definitely in lead, followed by Long, and then Scott on the outside. Remember, top 2 automatically qualify. Now Scott getting and he goes down. There goes Jaquan Scott out of the race. Rasheem Griffith and then Corday Long, first and second. Clayton Elder of Alabama also trying to make a run for it. But it's going to be Rasheem Griffith winning the heat, followed by Corday Long. 49:17 unofficially, adjusted to 48:79 for Griffith. flag was down for most of that race, but that doesn't mean anything. We're not going to get a wind reading, but it's good to know if they're running into a headwind on that backstretch. Just makes the event harder. Like that needs to happen.
Well, Rasheem Griffith ran this race the way you're supposed to, and that was just in a great rhythm. There you see them get over the 8th hurdle. Nice clearance for Griffith, but then Scott takes down that hurdle, and it's nice to see him bounce up, though, and he gets up and finishes that race as Griffith takes home the victory here. We did see that yellow flag. I don't think there was a foul there, but Scott does go down, but it's nice to see him finish. Now we know we're going to get a chance to see him run the 110-meter hurdles, but an all-time personal best for Rasheem Griffith there as he dips under 49 seconds for the first time ever.
And it looked to me like he went 13 the whole way. He's certainly doing it the last 3 hurdles, so I'm pretty sure he was doing it for the first 7. A fine run by Griffith. Corday Long automatically qualifying through to the final, and Clayton Elder will have to wait to see what happens with the next 2 heats as we go along to heat number 2. And this is a guy who absolutely went nuts at the end of last season, an amazing NCAA championship. He is the collegiate leader. He is the world leader. 47.95 he ran. And we were able to catch up with the great Chris Robinson yesterday.
I mean, it's not very much of an impact because it's something that I always knew I could do. I just know I have people at my back wanting to, basically use me as a target, and I'm ready for it. And it's really what drives me to be great and run the times that I do.
NCAA champion last year and already the world leader and the collegiate leader. It's a long season, especially when you're a collegian, but he would be a leading candidate to be on the U.S. Olympic team in the 400-meter hurdles in June and in Paris in August.
Well, that's the thing, a serious factor for those Olympic trials, and he'll get about 2.5 weeks of rest before from the NCAA championships to the Olympic trials. But if he continues to run like this, he's going to give guys like Trevor Bassett some fits at those Olympic trials. I'm not sure he can beat Rai Benjamin, but he can certainly run himself onto the team. And I had a chance to talk to him and just about what his expectations were. He said, run fast. He said he likes this track. He knows he can run fast here. He says if he worries just about running fast, then the wins and losses will take care of themselves.
There are the lane assignments with Robinson right in the middle of that group.
Also relatively beneficial for the NCAA athletes to run on that track not too long right before the Olympic trials and have those meets in close succession.
Well, that weather up in Eugene has just become completely unpredictable. I remember that incredible heat wave we had in 2021. That really had an effect on a lot of athletes, as you expect it would. I mean, in the 100 and teens for several days in a row.
Set.
Top 2 finishers automatically qualified through to Saturday's final. Robinson already out quickly.
Well, and Robin is such a wonder. He's such a beautiful hurdler. It looks like he's on a right leg lead, 13 strides between. Just look how easy he takes that hurdle.
Little adjustment there. He alternated on that one. So it is Robinson, followed by Jaquan Hale. On the inside, that is Kurt Collins, Jr. of Texas A&M, trying to get into the mix for that second spot. But it is all Chris Robinson. Robinson will win the heat, followed by Jaquan Hale, who will automatically qualify through to Saturday. 48.85 for Robinson.
Foul attempt.
Just another day at the office.
It jogs off. It's like one of the toughest events in all of track and field, and he just jogs away from the finish line.
It's casual.
But look, to get the 13 strides in between each hurdle, which is only really done by world-class athletes, you've got to be relaxed. You've got to have power, but you've also got to just be able to spot the hurdle, know where you're at, and there you see him. He had to reach for that one a little bit. He'll make a really nice adjustment, and you always love a guy who can alternate. He alternates pretty well with his left. He'd prefer not to. But there you see him make another adjustment back to his right, and then it's down the home straight, and I'll tell you what, he is just so tough, and I'm not sure how that hip number got on the back of his hand, but it didn't seem to deter him at all. He made it look easy.
48.85 for Robinson, followed by Jaquan Hale. 49.64, that's a season best for Hale in second place and into the final. And that's a number 9 time in meet history for Chris Robinson. Yeah, you're already at a distinct disadvantage in the 400 hurdles if you're a right leg lead hurdler anyway. So it would be helpful for him to get more comfortable with it if he could. All right, third and final heat, taking their final warm-ups. The bubble's 51.29 at this point. Just 5 athletes in this third and final heat. There's Clément Ducos of Tennessee from France, finalist of the French Championships last year, currently number 2 in the world with his 48.26 season best.
Well, and just speaking to him, I said, is it hard not to look forward to Paris, France in the Olympics? And he said his focus certainly wasn't on it. He's got the Olympic standard. He more than likely will be representing France, but he said now it's just time to concentrate on the task at hand. Come here, get the job done for Tennessee, both here and at the NCAA championships, and then he would let himself begin to dream about what an experience would be like at the Olympic Games in Paris. But young man from Bordeaux, France, I've had some good times in Bordeaux. couple of big scores for me in the decathlon in the Bordeaux region, but a nice young man and a hard-working guy, says Coach Dwayne. Says Coach Dwayne.
Sean Burrell of LSU, former NCAA champion back in 2022, currently 6th on the NCAA qualifying list.
A wild card. This guy can come up with a big performance when he needs it, even when he doesn't qualify and look very well in a finals. The gun goes off. He is a threat to win this race at any time.
He's a gamer, right? That's what you know to expect from Sean Burrell.
Has a lifetime best of 47.85, nothing to sneeze at as you take a look at the lane assignments with Burrell in 6 and Ducos in 7.
Well, we saw Burrell indoors maybe in the best early season shape that we've ever seen him in, but he was unfortunately disqualified in the 400 meters. But, I think that bodes well for what this outdoor season could be for this young man.
Disqualified for lane violation in that 400. So not sure what the holdup is.
You talk about, though, someone to watch in terms of the NCAA championships when he won that title in 2022. It was on the track in Eugene when he won that championship. So someone who that facility, that venue has certainly played into his favor as you look to the next couple of weeks and what he has on his calendar.
Tyler will be up. Anna will be on deck. Deanna will be on hold. Let's go, birds!
Third and final heat of these men's 400-meter hurdles prelims. First 2 finishers automatically qualifying through to the final. Bubble time is 51.29. The Olympic qualifying time is 48.70. A little bit longer hold on that gun, and Burrell going for it from the gun. He has Clément Ducos out there in front of him, who is also going for it. Burrell already alternating, which makes me think there's a headwind out there. So far, Ducos running a pretty much flawless race. He's alternating, and Burrell getting a challenge from Bryce McRae of Texas A&M. They don't take the 9th hurdle very well, but it is going to be quite the finish Ducot going to win it. Burrell's going to hold off McRae for the automatic qualifying spot. 50.07 officially for Ducot. 50.36 for Sean Burrell. And I think there was a pretty stiff headwind on that backstretch from the alternating I was seeing very, very early from athletes who were attempting to run 13 strides.
Well, Clement Ducot, look at him here on the back straight. He manages that 13 stride pretty easily, but look, he's a very powerful runner, a lot more in control over the hurdle than even Chris Robinson. But look, he gets off that hurdle, really runs hard in that first 15 meters, and this is how you get 13. You can't wait to run fast up that hurdle. You've got to really push as you create the distance coming off the hurdle. Don't make the adjustment difficult for you as you get close to the hurdle. He waited until the 8th hurdle to make his transition into 14 strides, and then here come the 15 strides all the way home. He's got a left leg, which he's definitely partial to. There's an alternate, but just beautiful hurdling by Clement Ducot, who already has the Olympic qualifying standard and is living kind of stress-free. There you see on the outside, that's A.J. Hale from Mississippi State, who goes down hard. You got to concentrate on these hurdles. As you begin to fatigue, those hurdles come at you fast, and you've got to just pay so much attention to the technique of it.
Yeah, those 36-inch hurdles get a whole lot higher as you get a whole lot more tired. So it took 50.65 to get through. McRae did get it in that last heat, finishing third. Rasheen Griffith with a lifetime best led these hurdlers, and the winner of the last heat downstairs with Fernando.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Ça va?
Ça va et vous?
That's it. That's all my French. So let's go, Clement. Tell me the story of the win in the back straight.
The wind just changed, and I had on the first 200 the wind in my face, so it was hard to keep my 13, but I think I did a good job overall.
Little fact for you. You know, no Tennessee runner has won the 400 hurdles at the SEC since 1986.
We're going to change it. Yeah, we're all ready to win. It's just amazing. Can't wait to run the final on Saturday and try to have this title.
Well, we can't wait to see you on Saturday.
Thank you, sir. I'll be there.
Thank you. Bye-bye. We'll see you. Back to you, Dwight. I don't know how to say goodbye in French. That's it.
Bonsoir.
Yeah, au revoir. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
All right, Ducot with a fine adjustment. He went all the way up to 15 strides per hurdle down the finishing stretch. That's how much that first 200 meters took out of him. Okay, so we have a little break before the women because they got to lower the hurdle. Let's take a look at the first day of the decathlon.
Well, I'll tell you, tough sledding here in the decathlon under this heat and humidity in Florida. They got about a late afternoon start, early afternoon. But there you see Blake Harris, a sophomore out of Texas A&M. He would get out to an early lead, followed there by Jack Turner of Arkansas, making a big move right there at the end. And Yariel Soto Tarado, the senior from Arkansas, not far behind. Blake Harris from Texas A&M would go 10:55. Turner 10:56 and Soto 10:74. And then, guys, from here on out, it was the Jack Turner show. The senior from Great Britain, transferred over from University of Texas San Antonio. They produce good long jumpers and triple jumpers and hurdlers over there at UTSA. Cream Street Thompson's neck of the woods. There you see Jack Turner on the first round. He'd go 24-3 for 908 points. They'd then head over to the shot put, and he would continue to lead here. And I got a chance to see these decathletes at the end of the day. Everybody, including Coach Geffy, Travis Geffert there in the back, had very red shoulders and necks from being out in this sun. But Jack Turner on his second attempt, he put one out there right between the 40-foot and the 45 line. He'd go 43 feet in that second round and continue to lead through the fourth event of this competition. And here is Soto, Yariel Soto Tarado. He competed at the Mount Sac Invitational earlier this season. He's already got his NCAA qualifier. He ranks number 6 right now in collegiate, third attempt, 44.6. He said he thought he got the shot put going today. He's got some good events coming up on day 2. And then they would move over to the high jump. Again, Jack Turner getting things going. Third attempt. Gotta love a third attempt. Ooh, light brush on the way up. And he would be over for 785 points and begin to put his thoughts there as you get a high five from Coach Geffey and Daniel Spacier down there helping coach just a little bit. We saw him compete, and then they would move over to the 400 meters. And Jack Turner would really be inspired in this last 100 meters. A lot of people on the sidelines cheering him on. But there you see Turner ahead of his teammate, Yariel Soto Tirado. Tirado said that he just hitched his wagon to Jack Turner and followed him all the way through the line. And the Arkansas Razorbacks would go heavy in the 400, 1-2 finish. And it's not a decathlon unless you're laying on your back on the ground after the 400 meters, right, Dwight? But Turner, number 5 right now, ranked at the NCAA. Tirado, number 6. And right now it looks like it takes about 77,370 points to get into the NCAA championships. But here in the decathlon, a couple of Arkansas Razorbacks. No surprise that they're in the lead.
Okay, 5 events down, 5 to go as we get ready now for the women's 400-meter hurdles heats. Same situation as the men's, 3 heats in total. Top 2 across the line will automatically qualify. Here are the records. Sydney McLaughlin, the Olympic champion and world record holder, holds both the collegiate record and the meet record in the same meet on the same day. 52.75. And these hurdlers are getting their last warm-ups. There is Rachel Glenn, who is quite a versatile athlete. She jumped 2 meters, 6'6" 3/4 at the indoor national championships, making her one of the few high jumpers that has the Olympic standard and beyond. But she's here, goes from the easiest event, the high jump, to the hardest event, the 400 hurdles. She is going to be a very busy young lady this weekend.
My schedule definitely is very busy, with one day, I think, Friday, I would believe, is the only day that I have free time. I'm doing jumps, I'm doing running events, and it's crazy because nobody thinks a high jumper would do 400 hurdles. So very chaotic, but I'm a chaotic person, so I handle it very well.
Like I said, she goes from the easiest event to train for to the hardest event in the sport, from the high jump to the 400 hurdles. I have to admire her. I would never even attempted it, didn't have the talent for it, but she certainly does.
But Dwight, I think this says a lot about the high jumping and the capability of high jumpers. I think athletes get so pigeonholed in one event or another, especially the high jumps. It's like you high jump, all you do is high jump. But high jumpers always come from some other events. They come from a hurdling event or a long jump or some other. And it's just, to me, this is just a great sign and a testament of what a good high jump athlete can do.
She's a transfer from South Carolina, and she really has found a home at Arkansas and proved amazingly. Right outside of her in lane 7, Illyria McBride, the sophomore from Vanderbilt.
Just 19 years of age there out of Marietta, Georgia. Coach Althea doing a really good job. Vanderbilt known just as a real distance running school for so many years, and Coach Althea Thomas there comes in and starts to develop sprinters and quarter milers.
They only have a women's program at Vanderbilt. Of course, we have to look forward to next year. We're inheriting Texas and Oklahoma into the conference. It'll go to a 16-team conference in 2025. So Rachel Glenn in lane 6 in this first of 3 heats, and then Illyria McBride of Vanderbilt right outside of her in lane 7.
Zimmerman 6, Trinity 7, Deanna 8, and Caitlin 9.
Set.
And Rachel Glenn with a good start already, attacking that first hurdle. Rachel Glenn with a huge lead. Gabrielle Matthews of Ole Miss and from Jamaica is second, but she is a distant second so far. And you can see Glenn controlling her race with her arms. A little stumbled there on 8. And she is clear with one more hurdle to go. Now we're looking at second place as McBride now making a move to get into second. It is close between Matthews of Ole Miss and McBride of Vanderbilt, and it is Matthews who grabs that second spot. For Rachel Glenn, a lifetime best of 54.02. That's a big adjustment, almost a full second better than her previous lifetime best, and it is a collegiate record, a collegiate leader in 2024.
Well, she just continues to prove that she's just a phenomenal athlete. Here you see she went 13 stride right from the first to the second hurdle, and then she settled back down into a 14 stride where she was alternating. But you see her just take the hurdles with so much ease, and she really does remind me of Sydney McLaughlin when she runs these hurdles. But she's not a 400-meter specialist. She is a good 400-meter runner, but you see some of the fatigue slip in here just to the end of this race, and I don't think she wanted the hurdle there with the right leg. It's like, okay, this is not my good leg, but I'm going to get over and I'm going to finish this race. But man, she is an outstanding all-around athlete, maybe the best all-around athlete. And I'll say this ahead of some multi-event athletes in the heptathlon, maybe the best all-around female track and field athlete in the country.
She moves ahead of Kenny Harrison for the number 7 time all-time in collegiate history, along with becoming the new collegiate and world leader at 54.02. An excellent run for Rachel Glenn, really hitting her peak at the right time. Gabrielle Matthews of Ole Miss holds off Illyria McBride for that second automatic qualifying spot. McBride will have to wait to see what happens over these next 2 heats. She's probably in the final with that 56.05.
I know I'm going to have words with Jaden O'Brien now after that comment about the best overall women's athlete in the country. Sorry, Jaden.
So early on, the bubble is 59.95 as we get ready for the second of 3 heats. This is Kyla Robinson Hubbard of Tennessee, 2-time SEC Outdoor 400-meter hurdles finalist. She's currently got the number 5 time amongst collegians. She'll be in lane number 7.
Well, and Coach Dwayne Ross said, you know, if we can't get him in the finals in the 100-meter hurdles or the 110 hurdles, we're going to get him in the finals of the 400-meter hurdles. He's really loaded up. See a lot of Tennessee athletes in the 400 meters. Kayla, a senior from Calabasas, California. And then Dominique Mustin from Georgia on the inside. And I remember Dominique, she came in the same freshman class as Anna Hall. This is really interesting, and she's one of those athletes who has spent her entire time at Georgia, and she's run every event from 200 meters to 800 meters. She spent a little bit of time there at the 800 meters, running 2:07 as an all-time personal best, but now she's found her way back to the 400-meter hurdles, and she's having her absolute best season at this distance.
There are the lane assignments. Mustin, another interconference transfer. She was at Texas A&M back in 2021, the first year we had out of COVID. So Mustin in 6, Robinson Hubbard in 7.
On your marks.
Let's take a check of the weather. It's down to 86 degrees. And the humidity is going up 65%. So still very tough conditions for some of these athletes, but the conference enjoys a lot of sunshine, a lot of heat in the spring.
Set.
Action in the middle of the track. Mustin in 6, Robinson Hubbard in 7, all black and the white and orange. And Mustin attacking from the very first hurdle. She's over the first hurdle first. A little bit of a chop into the second hurdle, though.
Well, it's interesting. Mustin really went out aggressively, and maybe too aggressively, and looked like she kind of knew that and backed off just a little bit.
And she has chopped several of these hurdles. The wind must really be an issue on that backstretch. Robinson Hubbard now has company with Gariel White as Mustin gets back into her rhythm. She retakes the lead over the 8th hurdle. Now Mustin at 9. She is still in the lead. Robinson Hubbard in pursuit. Chops to 10. Having trouble staying on her feet, and Robinson Hubbard takes advantage and wins the heat, but Mustin gets the second automatic qualifying spot. Anyway, that was a very chaotic race for Dominique Mustin that she'll need to clean up before Saturday's final.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Kyla Robinson-Hubbard, she was so steady. The TCU transfer was such a huge point getter for the Horned Frog. She comes over here to Tennessee and begins right away to make an impact on this squad in her first outdoor season. But there you see Dominique Mustin on the right-hand side. She gets off to a really quick start in those first 2 hurdles. And then right there, she looked like she just said, you know what, this is too fast, I gotta back off. But then she began to struggle just a little bit with her stride pattern. But then she would regather at the end of the race. There you see real smooth hurdling by both Robinson-Hubbard and Dominique Mustin there, but they're not putting in the 13 stride effort. Certainly like Rachel Glenn was, these athletes just don't enjoy that same amount of power or the stride length. But Dominique Mustin seemed to rally this last 100 meters, and she seemed all set to take this heat, but right there, you stutter, you lose your forward momentum a little bit, and it's just enough to let Robinson-Hubbard come away with the victory. Oh, these athletes are so tired. This is where I always thought, you know what, I'd be a pretty good 400-meter hurdler, but no, nobody wants to run this last 100. I certainly don't want to have to deal with it. I was a good 300-meter hurdler in high school, but the 400s, forget about it.
Yeah, it's a different race altogether. Even with that very strange and chaotic race for Mustin, she did get a lifetime best. And the bubble has moved down to 57.71 from 59.95 after that heat. So Robinson-Hubbard and Mustin through to Saturday's final. Third and final heat in this 400-meter hurdles. And this heat featuring LSU senior Leah Phillips, 5th at the 60-meter hurdles at the NCAA Indoors last March.
Well, and this is Shania Bellamy. We'll see Leah Phillips there just to the inside of Shania. They both are 100-meter hurdlers as well. When you're at LSU, you don't just hurdle in one event, you hurdle in both events. But Shania Bellamy, she ran a really good race here, 56.23. If she can replicate her win or the same run that she had in the Tom Jones Invitational here, she'll get through to the finals. But there you see this hurdle crew. Aaliyah Armstrong, we saw her definitely. She made the World Championship team last year. But in Aaliyah Armstrong's absence early in this outdoor season, late in the indoor season, it was Leah Phillips who stepped up and has really taken control of the 100-meter hurdles for this LSU Lady Tiger squad. And then Shania Bellamy, she's been very consistent story. There's Leah Phillips. I kind of miss her. She used to rock really, really long hair. Had a lot of hair hanging down. So a little bit different look for her this season, but much improved this last season, both in the 100-meter hurdles and the 400-meter hurdles.
So 2 Lady Tigers in the middle of the track. Top 2 advance automatically. There are the lane assignments. Bubbled down to 57.71.
Superman will be up. Treasure will be on deck.
On your marks.
On hold.
Bellamy on the left side of your screen, Phillips on the right.
Set.
Good start for both Lady Tigers. A little bit of an advantage for Leah Phillips being able to watch her teammate out in front of her. And they are in lockstep through 2 hurdles. Bellamy with a slight lead through 5. Bellamy on the left, Phillips on the right. Little stumble there for Phillips on the 8th hurdle. Here comes Nasi Kabongo of Texas A&M challenging for that 2nd spot. Phillips is going to have a clean 10th hurdle and drive hard for the finish. Here comes Kabongo. Phillips passes her teammate. Kabongo wins it. Phillips 2nd, and Bellamy, who had led for 380 meters ends up in third place and will probably still get through on time. You can see Kabongo coming from off the 8th hurdle. She thought, you know what, I think I can catch these two others. That's a lifetime best for the Texas A&M senior. Previous best 56.99.
Well, and Nissy Kabongo, she's just not even in the race at this particular point. Leah Phillips is going nice and smooth. Shania Bellamy is running her normal race. But Shania Bellamy looked great until the last 50 meters. Leah Phillips hits a hurdle there, stumbles just a little bit. You got to get that lead leg up. But look at this charge on the outside in lane 8. Nissy Kabongo, the transfer from Stephen F. Austin, just keeps things going down the track. You just start reeling people in, Dwight. You start feeling better. Here they come. They're coming back to me. Leah Phillips with a nice dive at the line, but it was a winning heat for Kabongo and a personal best.
Well, Shania Bellamy did get through on time. 3 total LSU Tigers through. Those are your qualifiers to final, led by Rachel Glenn with her giant lifetime best. And the winner of that last heat downstairs with Fernando.
Thank you, Dwight. Nissy's asking me here, where's she look? You just won. You can look at it anywhere you want.
Yes, sir.
So we were watching the race together. So tell me, 8th hurdle. What position were you?
I'm not even sure. I don't think I was top 3 though. I don't think I was top 3. I think I was like 4th, right?
You were 4th, yeah. 9th hurdle, you were 3rd.
And I kept on moving up. It ain't over till it's over. I was like, I want to make the final. I'm going to get top 2. And I kept on pressing because it ain't over till it's over.
It's all about the team race, too. So what does this mean for the team race?
Oh, gosh. I knew I had to make it and do it for my girls. We've had such a good season. It's all about teamwork. Coach is like, this is a team. Today is all about the team. So I put on the line for my girls.
Where's the ice bath here?
Woo-wee, I got to find it. I got to find it somewhere.
I know, I got to find it as well. So let me know what it is.
Yes, sir, I got you.
I'm going to find that ice bath. Right, back to you.
All right, Fernando. So Nissy Kabongo with a lifetime best wins heat number 3, automatically qualifying through to Saturday's final in the women's 400-meter hurdles. As they remove the hurdles from the track, we're getting ready for one of our 2 track finals on day number 1, the men's 10,000 meters, which will be, of course, followed by the women's 10,000 meters. And Laura, I don't consider this ideal weather, but it was not great for the heptathlon either, Dan.
It was hot. It's just like the decathlon. We're taking a look at heat 3 here. The ladies start out with 100-meter hurdles. And that's Kennedy Jackson, the junior from Mississippi State, Alex Still of Vanderbilt, and Charity Huffnagel. Actually, that's not their heat. Well, that's a different heat, but let's get over to the women's high jump. Here's Charity Huffnagel. She's your NCAA high jump champion last season, but this season she's spending most of her time doing the multi-events here. But that's her first attempt, over 6 feet, ½ an inch. And you see Chris Grimes give her a fist pound. 1,029 points, you go over 6 feet in the high jump here. And then we move over to the shot put. This is Tamara Chapman. She's your national leader right now. And she'd get a good throw out there. 46 feet, 1 1/4 inches. She leads all collegiates in the heptathlon. Here's Charity Huffnagel. We saw her in the high jump here in the 3rd round. This would be her best attempt. Look at the rotation there. And high fives and low fives all around. 43 feet, 1 3/4 inches. You can always tell when a multi-event athlete gets an all-time personal best. Then they'd move to the 200. This is the first heat that they ran in the opposite direction. And this is that final heat of the 200 meters. Huffnagel on the outside. Chapman there in the middle of the track. And Chapman would show you why she would be your first day leader, coming away with a 200-meter victory. And she would finish strong at the end of day 1. And she'd go 24:10 for 971 points. And she would be your leader after day 1. There you see Chapman. with just under a 50-point lead there to Charity Huffnagel and Ella Rush of Georgia in second position.
All right, we are back live and getting ready for that men's 10,000 meters. Let's talk a little bit about, not only is it warm, humid, but it's also a little on the windy side, which isn't helpful.
Not quite ideal, but then again, you're also talking about athletes who, for the majority of the programs, pretty much train in this type of heat. So a lot of them are, well seasoned to these kinds of conditions. And you think about last year when this meet was in Baton Rouge at LSU, it was really hot there as well. And this is that same field for the most part from what have contended the outdoor championships last year, cross-country championships this fall, a lot of those that we just saw at the SEC indoor championships in the 3,000 and the 5,000. So all athletes who are very well seasoned, not only in battling the conditions, but in battling one another. When you talk about these guys have been getting after it since August in training for the cross-country season, the build into indoor, and then on in to this outdoor season. So it's a really good field of competition, and it'll be interesting to see just tactically how this race plays out. When you talk about 10,000 meters, you don't race many 10Ks over the course of the regular season, so it leaves a lot to be figured out when you get into a championship meet, because you don't exactly know where most of these guys are coming out of the indoor season, because you don't want to overly race your outdoor season as you build up to a lot of that heavy mileage through your championship calendar.
There you saw the collegiate and meet records. Nico Young setting that collegiate record earlier this year. Victor Kiprop, twice the champion here at the SEC in the 10,000.
Also the back-to-back SEC cross-country champion in 2022 and 2023. He won the SEC Distance Triple Crown. He has just owned a lot of these distance events at the conference championship level, but one of those looking to push the pace and be right up there and lead the charge for the Hogs is Patrick Kiprop, who was the 2022 SEC Indoor and Outdoor Champ in the 5,000.
So 20 total entries in the men's 10.
5 of those coming from the University of Arkansas, 3 coming from Alabama. So in terms of, we talked about one of the few finals that you have today, so the team implications are significant. Karami Yego, he's the wild card for me in this field. We saw him with that top 3 finish at the SEC Indoor Championships, and he always kind of likes to shake things up in competition. He'll have his teammate right there next to him. I was told that Karami is battling a bit of a foot issue coming into this championship, so we'll get a gauge on exactly where he is working into the field. And a newcomer to the SEC Championships, that is Bradley McVire from South Carolina, previously competed at both Southeast Louisiana and at Tulane, a really strong athlete for what is an emerging distance program at South Carolina. Of course, saw some of the athletes there in the 800 just a little bit earlier, now into the 10,000.
So should we expect a 22, 23 laps worth of pace and then a sprint?
Well, it depends on who wants to take a gamble and get up there. I think for a lot of the guys in this field who have, run the times that aren't as fast but want to score well, it's going to be advantageous to them to make sure it goes a bit more honest. And, I think one of those guys is Patrick Kiprop, who, if he feels really good going into this, he has the capability to push the pace just a little bit more. In talking, Yassin Abdallah of Tennessee, another really interesting one. I think he more favors that sit and kick type of pace because he does have the leg speed like we saw indoors. There is that duo that is side by side, 16 and 17, Yego and Kiprop from the University of Arkansas.
Well, meet management has done a fine job of keeping the meet on time. We had, I think, only one false start during the lane races, which is great.
when you're talking about, will it be a, sit and kick, come down to the last 1,000 meters. If you're looking for one athlete who could really push the pace and it's advantageous for it to be honest, that is Bradley McIntyre of South Carolina.
And they are off in the men's 10,000 meters, 20 entries. Looks like about 6 or 7 in that second alley on the outside. And they will stay out there until they complete this first turn, and then they'll break for the pole.
And the reason I say that about McIntyre, who has hip number 20 in the dark uniform there in about the middle of the field, that's because his coach, Brock Moreau, said that the heat really plays into his favor. It'll be 85 degrees, and he might still have his warm-up jacket on before he goes out to the track, so they really hope that it's not too slow early. He's not necessarily the fastest in the field, not as fast as Victor Kiprop, Patrick Kiprop, but he has a really big engine, so it's going to be exciting to see what he can do among this field, just getting in here and mixing things up after transferring from Tulane now at South Carolina.
Well, you can see that it's going very slowly, which is fine, except for the part where there's 20 guys on the track in a very small area, and everybody's got to have a place for their feet to go down. So this always creates a potential problem until someone strings out the pace.
Especially when you have some of the taller guys in the field, Patrick Kiprop, Victor Kiprop. There's some of those who don't want to risk getting tangled up because of having, the longer strides that they do. And when I was talking to a number of the coaches, they're like, this is just one you see who survives it, because all of these guys have had a heck of a year. Going back to, of course, for Arkansas, a podium finish in cross country at the NCAA championships, that elite 5,000 meter field that we saw at the NCAA indoor championships. So they have been, going up, battling against one another back to October. A ton of variables that you have when you get to, middle of May into June when you have the championship season.
Karami Yego is the one that is setting this early blistering pace with Austin Popplewell of Missouri, the junior right there in the all yellow right on his shoulder. And a lot of Arkansas up there in the front.
Are you surprised?
Not at all.
This is a huge event for them. If they are going to position themselves to be in the conversation going into Saturday for a team title with that on the line, they're going to have to load some of the points in this event. They're very balanced. They have a lot of scoring opportunities, but this is one that's really significant for them. And what's interesting about kind of seeing right now, Yego up there up front, those first 2 laps, 77.8, 77.8, 78.6, is Yego doesn't mind being up there. We kind of saw him indoors, but then when he gets fed up, he starts gesturing and commanding everyone to get up there and share some of the workload up front. In Chris Bucknam, talking with him earlier today about Karami Yego, who was really exciting to watch during the indoor season, of course, coming into the University of Arkansas. He said that we're not sure how aggressive he will be, but we need to score the points. So we're just going to have to see how the race develops. He wants this race to just really be organic. And I said, Yego seems to me like a guy who, no matter how much he's hurting or what he's battling through from the injury standpoint, you would have to restrain him to keep him off the track and out of a racing opportunity. He said it is certainly difficult to hold this guy back, and you are exactly right with that analogy, as you have Arkansas with a whole host up there up front, and you can see that Victor Kiprop is fine to just hang back in the pack and let the rest of the field pull him along.
5 of the top 7 currently are Arkansas Razorbacks, with Yego continuing to lead over Popplewell. That is Shearer of Arkansas there in 3rd, with, or I should say Richter is in 3rd, Shearer is in 4th, and then Patrick Kiprop currently 5th.
They have picked up the pace ever so slightly, just below 75 seconds for that last 400 through 1,000 meters, 3:15. And now you can see, okay, that is Patrick Kiprop going over to the backstretch to grab a little water, I believe. try to cool things off. You mentioned how much of a factor the heat is. Current pace for them, 32:09. So very comfortable, a pedestrian start through the first 1,000 meters, given the talent that you have of this field. And Diego has been up there up front the entire time.
That's Eric Casares of Texas A&M, the senior there in the gray top for A&M. Oftentimes up in the mix in these distance races, but otherwise, besides he and Popplewell, it is all Arkansas up front, as we now see McIntyre working his way up. He's in lane number 2, running a little extra distance there, but staying out of trouble.
Right at 75 seconds, so they've been really consistent for those back-to-back 400, 74.9 and 75 seconds. They're at 5:06.5 through 1,600 meters. While we have a look at this entire field, I want to point out Yassin Abdallah of the University of Tennessee. He has the white jersey, the orange shorts, and the only thing as ferocious as the sun are the bright pink spikes that you see that a lot of these guys have as they're grabbing some of the water on the backstretch. But Yassin is not only entered in the 10,000, he's also entered in the 1,500, but the 10K is very much the focus. He won the seeded heat indoors of the 3,000 with that sit and kick kind of approach. But one thing that's interesting about Yassin Abdallah, he's a really cool character. He has a YouTube platform which chronicles his life, his career, his training, his aspirations of making an Olympic team. And he was talking about his background. His parents are immigrants from Sudan, and the family, when he was young, was split across the country. He and his siblings were with his dad in Maryland while his dad was working. His mom was in dental school in Southern California, and she would commute back and forth. So he really attributes a lot of his work ethic to his parents.
Abdallah sort of in the middle of the pack, 9th or 10th, and staying out of trouble by being in the 2nd place. Right behind you can see there is Bradley McIntyre with a 20 on his shorts, staying out of trouble, but the price he pays is that he runs a little extra distance in order to do so. There is McIntyre. Spent a lot of time in lane 2 for most of this race, as that pace just has slowed again to 76.2 the last 400 meters.
I think you're going to see this pack stay pretty tight for the majority of the race. We were kind of curious how it would play out, and you do feel like that this is, until somebody really gets an urge to shake things up, this is likely what you're going to see through the majority. So probably not going to threaten, the meet records or any of those things, but it's really important to emphasize it's all about the team. It's all about the points. It's about racing well and racing tactically, as not only do you have the implications from the scoring standpoint, but a lot of these athletes will come back in the 5,000. Yassin Abdallah's planning to run the 1,500 tomorrow.
And also these athletes, many of them, most of them, will run another 10,000 in 2 weeks at regionals. And those who get through will run another 10,000 2 weeks later at the NCAA championships.
That's Miles Richter that you saw. Oh, he fumbled the water. He was going for it. Somebody give him a, yeah, he's signaling for it. We got to get Miles a beverage out there. He is so important to Arkansas and their team hopes. A 7-time SEC scorer. He was 4th in this event last year. Really an incredible kind of, glue guy of holding everything together and certainly helping out, trading off the lead, letting his teammate Karami Diego have a little break from those lead duties. But he is one of those who does a great job of putting himself into the thick of these racing opportunities. Pace now dipped below 31.50, currently on about a 31.48 pace. We'll see what this most recent lap was with the two hogs going 1 and 2 right now.
Richter, a 7-time SEC scorer, so very utilitarian for the Hogs as he now takes over the pacing duties, and you can certainly see the pace picking up with him in the lead. Now 3 Razorbacks, 1, 2, 3 with Popplewell right there of Missouri still in the mix. Diego has dropped back, now getting some water.
Can he share it with Miles? Like, help your teammate who fumbled his water earlier.
Yeah, he just threw it in his face. I think that's what he was looking for.
Also there up front, kind of in the thick of it, we have seen Jacob McLeod of Arkansas running really well, a 4-time SEC scorer, and actually competed in the steeplechase at the SEC Championships outdoors last year. So he's gone back and forth between running the 10K. He was 7th in this event in 22, ran the steeplechase last year, so really versatile at the distances for Chris Bucknam's program. 74.6 that last lap, so starting to quicken ever so slightly as we have seen Richter jump up front.
He's quickened the pace enough that everyone is actually running in lane 1.
Now we are below 71 seconds, 70.5 for that last 400.
All right. Well, I think this is what we're going to be seeing happening for a little bit while, so we'll step aside for a moment and go back to Dan for a little bit of men's javelin, which was the final today.
Well, I think the javelin got started here, guys. Just still the sun is beating down on this facility, but this is Abraham Sargent, the senior from Florida. The transfer from Oral Roberts University. He was 2nd at the Florida Relays this year, 3rd in the Summit League last year, and he got 2:46.5 in the 6th round, and that would move him up into podium position. And here we see the national leader. This is Mark Minicello, the only javelin thrower in the country who's thrown over 80 meters, 262 feet. We don't see it land there, but here in the 6th round, he saved his best throw for last, 255.7. He's the NCAA champion in 2022 while at Penn. And this is Will Lawrence, the LSU junior. This will be his 6th attempt throw. He's a transfer from Wisconsin-Platteville. He won the NCAA Division III title last year and was runner-up in 2022, and he'd go 2:44.8, and that would be good enough for a 3rd place finish. But there you see the SEC champion and the NCAA defending champion, Mark Minicello of Georgia, 255 feet, 7 inches. There's your top 3.
All right, back to the men's 10,000 meters. And that is Miles Richter of Arkansas, still leading over his teammate, Karani Yago. Austin Popplewell of Missouri in the all-yellow. They're in on the rail in 3rd place. The tall Arkansas Razorback, Patrick Kiprop, the senior. And now into the mix for real is Bradley McIntyre from Zimbabwe and South Carolina. He has worked himself into sort of equal 4th after spending a lot of time in the back of the pack and running probably the first 6 or 7 laps in lane number 2.
Through 4K at 12:26.7. They had settled into pretty consistent 70.5s, slowed ever so slightly, just under 73 seconds for that last most recent 400. Hey, you pointed out Patrick Kiprop, and in talking to a number of the coaches across the conference, they just consider him a warrior at these conference meets because of how versatile he's able to be, the willingness that he has to jump into a lot of different events. And I think that Bradley McIntyre has done a really good job of positioning himself into the thick of this race. He ran 28:29 at the Raleigh Relays, a winter transfer, so still relatively new to that South Carolina program. Really interesting athlete who Brock Moreau was so familiar with because he knew him when Bradley was competing at Southeastern Louisiana, and Brock was previously coaching at New Orleans. So kind of an interesting guy who he really wanted to draw to South Carolina and have as part of the program, and has certainly, you know, made a mark and made an impact early, and now looking to be a threat for an SEC 10K title. While we have kind of a look at the field, pointing out the 2 athletes from Alabama, we've of course talked about Victor Kiprop, but also one to watch, his teammate Dennis Kipruto, right up there as well. He's got that hip number 18, thanks to our great work by our production crew for kind of identifying those 2 guys. Coach Dan Waters told me Kipruto ran that 28:44 off of just about 2 weeks of training. and has been gaining strength ever since. He had an Achilles injury indoors, so that's why he was kind of limited in his racing prior to having that opportunity to run at the Brian Clay Invitational when he ran that time, but continues to just get better and better over the course of this outdoor season. And who better to have along for the ride than Victor Kiprop, who he's running right with. That most recent 400 was right at 73 flat.
Those kudos go to our director, Jim Carr, who keeps us honest and zeroes in on those athletes and their numbers so we know what's going on. There's so many lead changes and so many moves being made in a race with a field this large. It's tough to keep everybody straight, and he helps do that for us. We're coming up at the halfway point here at the 200-meter mark. And they're not setting the world on fire time-wise, but that's not what it's about. It's a championship. Times and results and distances are not important. It's the win. And they're looking just to be under 31-minute pace at this point, thanks in large part to Miles Richter picking up the pace about 4 laps ago.
That through 5,000 meters, 15:28, that pace. So they are on track for just sub 31 minutes. This is where you would like to see someone like either Yassine Abdallah. He'll probably sit and wait a little bit, but perhaps Bradley McIntyre pushes the field just a little bit to try to quicken things, because if you run the risk, or what you run the risk of doing if you kind of stay stagnant at this pace, is just leaving so many people in the field that will potentially steal points away from you, or steer, kind of keep things bunched up, and you're going to have to navigate around as you get to the latter part of the races. They're now into the second 5,000 meters, and it has been all Arkansas up front between Karami Yago and Miles Richter.
Eric Casares of A&M has definitely been in and is staying in the mix as he moves into third.
And Coach Pat Henry felt really good about the experience that Eric Casares brings in. He said he's just got to show up at the big race, and felt like that this was an opportunity certainly for him to do that, and proving that as he has kind of mixed up a bit of the early domination. And now we're starting to see Victor Kiprop get a little bit antsy, moving up kind of on the outside there of lane 1 with the white jersey and then the Crimson Tide red in his shorts.
Finish up on Casares, who's definitely in the mix, a 9-time SEC scorer for Coach Pat Henry. So he is in the mix in these longer races, both indoors and outdoors for the Aggies.
And really efficient in his stride and how he runs, and is really nimble in navigating packs in crowded fields like you have right here. You feel like this is, for Arkansas, much like you have tended to see in the longer distance events, kind of treating it like that cross-country pack mentality. They have dictated this field, forced everyone else to go with him. A lot of these guys do have really strong kicks, but Victor Kiprop, keep in mind, has sub 4-minute mile speed, so he is one who can allow the race to come to him. Yassine Abdallah also has a great kick as well. He was part of a DMR national championship when he competed previously at the University of Texas.
Things bunching up a little bit again, but it's all Arkansas up front, 4 of the top 5.
When we talk about this, has been such a familiar cast of characters. Now as they go through 6K at 18:31, Yassine Abdallah has been in the mix at a lot of championship races, not only NCAA's, noting what he did at the DMR previously in his career when he was with the University of Texas, but SEC's. That conference title at this championship has eluded him. He's been runner-up a number of different times, and Sean Carlson said Yassine really wants to win an SEC title before he is done with his career in Knoxville.
Yassine Abdallah keeps moving up now into the top 7. staying on the outside, trying to stay out of trouble, as is McIntyre, who's on the line between lane 1 and 2. And Richter is starting to tire. You can tell by the way his head is starting to bob a little bit. His shoulders are twisting. He's been up there working it, picking up the pace from about the first 7 laps. It went very, very slowly.
73.7 for that last 400 meters, so right around 30:51 pace, which is very comfortable for this field. And you noted the positioning of Bradley McIntyre as you see him going down the backstretch. He's a little buried right now by the Arkansas Razorbacks, but has on the black jersey, black singlet, and black shorts. And Coach Brock Moreau said a day like today really could be special for Bradley if he puts himself in the mix at the halfway point. Well, hey, we're past the halfway point, and he is more than in the mix of what this field has done to this point. So it's been a really great run so far for him. Now he just has to stick with it, be able to hang with the field and gauge that point. If he's going to start to make a move, select the right point to do it and push this pace just a little bit. You mentioned, Miles Richter has been there up front for the majority of it. Now we're seeing McIntyre. Maybe he's going to slide in, get on the rail before we get to this next lap.
Now Richter's done his job. You can tell he is suffering as McIntyre takes over the leading duties. Casares is right there. Yago is there with Kiprop and Shearer. And stalking is Abdallah and Alabama's Kiprop.
We talked about Yassine Abdallah. You're also seeing his teammate kind of right there in that top 8. Now in this shot, you can really see him there. Hip number 11, that's the freshman for UT. Dean Casey ran 28:39 at the Raleigh Relays earlier this season. He was 11th at the SEC Cross Country Championships this fall. In talking with Sean Carlson, he said, yeah, we're starting to get a stable together of distance runners, with the leadership there in Knoxville, and of course head coach Dwayne Ross, and then Sean Carlson leading the distance program.
Now Patrick Kiprop pops into the lead. He's been back in that 3rd, 4th position for almost the entire race. Now he decides to lead. And here comes his teammate Yago. And a big move by Victor Kiprop of Alabama. 7 laps remaining, and things are starting to change as Patrick Kiprop, I should say, leads Victor Kiprop, and it's definitely picking up the pace, trying to throw in a fast lap or 2 to see who is really going to stay in it.
That pace 2 seconds faster on the most recent 400. They went from 73.3 to 71.1 thanks to that big surge by Patrick Kiprop, with Victor Kiprop hanging right in there. Of course, worth noting, Victor Kiprop has won back-to-back. From our research we found, we have not seen anyone win 3 straight SEC men's 10,000 meter titles.
Quite a gap that has been developed now between the 2 Kiprops and 3rd place, which includes a couple of Razorbacks in that top 6, but they're starting to drop off with this pace. 6 laps remaining.
Worth noting, in that chase pack is Dennis Kipruto of Alabama. And Dan Waters said that this needs to be a really special event for them to put themselves in position. 64.4. All right, we're seeing some 60s now, shaking things up at this point of the race. This is going to basically, come down to a 1,200 meter or so kick from the top 2 in this field, and you're seeing them right there up front. Immense respect between these 2 athletes. We've seen them go head-to-head so frequently. There's Yassine Abdallah leading the chase pack with Dennis Kipruto and Karami Yago in tow.
Patrick Kiprop just hammering this pace, and Victor Kiprop drafting behind him.
They're so acutely aware. You could see they glanced up as you saw them look to their left. That is because there's a large video board right there where Patrick Kiprop could gauge exactly how Victor had positioned himself. Really consistent now, 65 seconds for that last 400 meters through 8K at 24:19. In talking with Arkansas coach Chris Bucknam, he said, we'll just see how guys feel. We want this race to be really organic in how it plays out. And Patrick Kiprop can run in so many different ways, and he has such a good feel for races, especially at the championship level, that he bided his time, waited for that opportunity to kind of break it open and force someone to go with him. He is certainly not fazed by that being Victor Kiprop and letting kind of this race come to him. He's very aware of that closing kick that Victor has as well.
Less than a mile to go, 4 laps remaining. Patrick Kiprop of Arkansas continuing to hammer the pace, and Victor Kiprop of Alabama not being fazed by it, drafting off of his opponent. And Arkansas dropping down in the standings so far.
Sub 65 on that last 400. They've been really consistent these last 3 laps, 64.4, 65, 64.9.
Caraniego is way back in 6th place.
That's where this foot injury is likely, catching up to him a bit. He is, though, always a fighter and certainly going to put himself out there, do as much as he can. He does have a really good kick that he can draw, and so would not surprise me to see him catch a few spots as they close.
Now 3 laps remain. And they're on pace now to be under 30 minutes with another now a 64.1, the fastest 400 laps so far.
And when you talk about speed, keep in mind Victor Kiprop has that 356 mile speed in his arsenal. When he is on his game, he certainly has the turnover to crank it up when called upon, and that's likely what this race is going to take. Alabama needs a special performance, not just from him, but from the teammates who he has in here to position themselves for that team title through 9,000 meters at 27 flat now, thanks to that 64.1 that you noted on that last 400, Dwight.
Caraniego now into 3rd place, so helping Arkansas, 4th place, I should say. Yassine Abdallah, a big gap to try to make up from these two. These are the 2 guys that are making it happen. 2 laps remaining now, less than a half mile. And Patrick Kiprop of Arkansas continues to lead over Victor Kiprop of Alabama. But in this case, like most cases, it's much better to be the hunter than be the hunted.
They've settled ever so slightly, 65.5 that last lap, so a little bit more than a second slower as they're trying to kind of gear up for that final push. Now they're also going to have to navigate traffic, lapping a few of the athletes in the field as they go around the turn there.
That's Austin Popplewell, who is well up in the lead pack for the first half of the race. Now Victor Kiprop deciding to make the move with a little more than 500 meters remaining and reversing the roles. Patrick Kiprop covers the move after hammering away for the last 6 laps with 400-meter tours of the track right around 65 seconds. Here comes the bell. Kiprop versus Kiprop, and the turnover for Victor Kiprop, the 2-time defending champion, is superior to Patrick Kiprop. He does not have an answer for that move. The 2-time defending champion going for the 3-peat, and 10 points for his Alabama team. He laps Miles Richter, who is the one that started quickening the pace on behalf of the Arkansas Razorbacks. He is spent. Victor Kiprop coming around for the final 100 meters. He is going to be a 3-time SEC 10,000 meter champion. But despite a great effort by Patrick Kiprop of Arkansas to take the kick out of him. So let's see who is going to be third.
Looks like a big kick from Yassin Abdallah right here.
It will be Yassin Abdallah of Tennessee ending up third. Diego was fourth, but he was closer to scoring than that, but he does get fourth. So second and fourth for Arkansas. That doesn't hurt. 60.5 last lap for the champion, 3-time champion, Victor Kiprop.
Looks like Dennis Kipruto of Alabama, the most recent finisher there.
So Alabama had multiple scorers in this 10,000. First and fourth for the Crimson Tide. So 15 points for them in this 10,000 meters. That will certainly help in their long shot chance of winning the team title. Pretty much everything has to go right for them. So just about 6 laps to go, and Patrick Kiprop in the red or the crimson of Arkansas was hammering the pace. Well, this is the last 500 meters. At that point, Victor Kiprop, he made the move.
He revved that engine, already a winner of the distance Triple Crown, and he is now a triple 10K champion at the SEC Championships, all thanks to a huge closing kick over the last 600 meters, revved that engine at exactly the right time, played it out so tactically, so casual, just had to make sure to stop the watch as you cross the line.
So here are the final results. The top 8 score, remember. So Alabama with first and fourth, that gets them 15 points. Arkansas with Patrick Kiprop in second, and Jacob McLeod of Arkansas in seventh. So only 10 points for Arkansas in that 10,000, and they had a raft of points in position with less than half the race to go. That Patrick Kiprop move to draw the kick out really took a toll on that Arkansas group. But it was Victor Kiprop, 3 times now the 10,000 meter champion at the SEC level, and he is downstairs talking with Fernando.
Thanks so much, Dwight. I'm just telling Victor, we're going to talk strategy, right? So you guys broke with about 7 laps to go. Was that the plan for you?
No, my plan, it was like the last 3 laps, I may like drop around 62s. Yeah, because I know most of these guys know, they don't know like Angan on like space of 62. So that was my strategy.
So you guys went about 64 in the last 3 laps. Does that kind of set you back?
Yeah, but I didn't expect that. Yeah.
25 laps in the 10,000 meters. You only led 1 full lap of it, right? The last one is the one that counts.
Yeah, almost 3 laps. It counts a lot. Yeah.
So I talked to Coach Waters before, and he said, you know, there's a lot of pride in Alabama track team that you guys are dominating this race for the past couple of years. You're the first ever 3-time winner of the SEC's 10,000 meters at the championships. What does that mean for you?
It's mean a lot because my event mostly I depend on 10K. Yeah, so I normally work on 10K.
You're going to double tonight, right? Or not tonight, but at the meet?
Yeah, I will double. Yeah.
We'll see you again?
I will double because I'm just looking for speed. Yeah.
All right, we're going to see him again, Dwight.
All right, Fernando. Yeah, he's dropping down, way down to 5,000 for some speed work, Lara.
He's just looking for speed. That's all. Why not, right?
Well, an excellent performance, 3rd time in a row for Victor Kiprop of Alabama. As we get ready now for the ladies' 10,000 meters. There are the cleats records set this year by Parker Valby of Florida. Sydney Thorvaldsen of Arkansas is in the field.
She's the defending champion, won this event last year at the SEC Championships. Also indoor champion at 5,000 meters. And Hilda Olomomoy from Alabama is certainly one to watch. She has had such incredible consistency, has not lost a race all season long. Second in the 5,000 in the NCAA Indoor Championships behind Parker Valby, who we noted with the collegiate record, and shaping up to hopefully see Hilda and Parker in the 5,000 at the end of this championship. Also, Ella Chestnut from LSU, part of this really emerging distance contingent of the Tigers program. And then this is Brenda Tui, also representing Alabama. Runner-up at the SEC Indoor Championships. So Alabama seeing what they just did in the men's 10,000, having an opportunity to do that on the women's side.
There were 20 entries in the men's 10,000, 25 entries here in the women's. And let's see if we get the same type of race. You can't exactly call the men's race a sit and kick, even though it was for about 18 laps, but then changed dramatically into a one person tries to pull the kick out of the other person race. But this is certainly going out and stringing out the pack much more quickly than in the men's race.
The reigning champ, Sydney Thorvaldsen, right there up front to keep things honest early. In tow, that is Ryan Helmers of Ole Miss, an All-American in cross country as well. Thorvaldsen has her teammate up there as well. That's Peyton Noe, the freshman from Arkansas. Noe, one of the newcomers to the Razorback program, but has certainly made an impact early on. 5th at the SEC Cross Country Championships. Freshman out of Iowa, where she was the state's Gatorade Cross Country Player of the Year last year, and one who this Arkansas program is really excited about in terms of the emerging talent and that young talent that they have with their program that's following the leadership of the junior, Sydney Thorvaldsen. She's had such an incredible 2024. She was the indoor 5K champion, as we noted. She scored 15 points altogether at the indoor championships, also adding a 4th place finish in the 3K. And in terms of the 10,000, which is an absolutely stacked event in this conference, because you have the collegiate leader, Parker Valby, you have Hilda Olomomoy, who has the 2nd fastest time in the nation. Well, Sydney Thorvaldsen currently 5th on the NCAA qualifying list. And this is really how she likes to run. Not so much, you know, a sit and kick, relatively speaking, as we were talking about. She is more of that kind of metronome who can know to set that early pace, know what she's going to have to do, and then those who go with her, she can gauge accordingly to push things along. But really steady there up in the front of the pack as they go through those first few laps and start to settle in.
Well, only 2 Arkansas Razorbacks entered in this 10,000 meters, so they're expecting, of course, that they will get a fair amount of points out of those 2 runners.
And that's a beautiful shot where you're starting to see it is just cooling off, can we even say that, ever so slightly. The sun has set now, so you know, you're getting a little more of that evening type of feel. Still very, very humid, of course, though, with this field. Good to see, you know, Arkansas up there going 1 and 2.
But while it's cooling down a little bit, guys, it's still 80 degrees out there on the track. That's what's amazing about Southern Florida here. You see that we got here, it was 92, 93. Now it's still over 80, and these athletes in this 10,000 meters, they are just suffering out there in this heat.
as you're looking at the field right now, Hilda Olomomoy has done a really good job of kind of sticking herself right there behind Peyton Noe, and then you're also seeing her teammate Brenda Tui move up there as well. Tui just arrived in Tuscaloosa. There she is right out there in lane 2 with the 5 there on her chest. Arrived to Tuscaloosa just in January from Eldoret, Kenya. And Coach Nick Steneff said she's really coming into her own, and he feels really good about her development. It's been great for her to have Hilda's maturity and experience to draw from. His message to her all year long has been, just keep showing up. You're gonna get there. You're doing all of those right things, and you've got the right person to be there alongside you. And right now, she's right alongside Ella Chestnut of Louisiana. She's a Louisiana native, so when you're talking about people who can endure the heat, Dan, that you're talking about, she can. She grew up in between Baton Rouge and New Orleans, so 80-something degrees is kind of what she's been accustomed to. And in talking to LSU distance coach Houston Franks, he said her toughness and dedication are really what stood out in the recruiting process when they brought her to the program. She's now a sophomore. He said she was a national qualifier, NCAA qualifier in cross country, and all of what she's accomplished so far has just been a big dose of hard work and doing a lot of the little things right. And right now she's doing the little things well by being right up there in the top 3 alongside that duo from Alabama.
Well, the pace has definitely slowed over the last couple of laps, 86.5 the last 2 laps, and you can see that the pack is bunching up and the athletes are having to squirt out into lane 2 in order to make sure they have enough room to run. That was an 85-second lap, so a slight improvement. But in the beginning, the pack was nicely strung out very early on in that first lap or so, and now they've bunched up quite a bit.
You're starting to see Thorvaldsen and Noe get maybe a little bit anxious and starting to want to push things. Maybe they'll try to navigate around Chestnut of LSU to start to quicken things ever so slightly. As you see down the backstretch, a lot of the athletes grabbing the water to get whatever reprieve they can from the heat. Noe now sliding comfortably there up front. I talked with distance coach Lance Harder, of course, retired but still involved in the program, still around the program, but was talking to him, about the athletes because he continues to be around the program, helping Megan Elliott on the workout days. He said, I'll hold a stopwatch for her, do whatever she needs. But he said that Peyton Noe is going to be a superstar in the SEC. We obviously know that Sydney Thorvaldsen is and has established herself as a champion, and certainly Peyton Noe is going to be one to watch for the next few seasons that she is in Fayetteville. Seeing a bit of a change there up front with Michaela Reed sliding into the lead as they go through right around 7 minutes there, and we will check on that most recent 400-meter split at 83.5.
So Michaela Reed, the senior from Missouri, now takes over the leading duties from Ella Chestnut. Sydney Thorvaldsen continues to stay right up there, out of trouble. The defending champion making sure she has plenty of room to run.
And talking of, we've spoken about it during the men's race, but the team implications and those coaches across the conference are really giving a lot of credit to Coach Dennis Shaver and Coach Houston Franks and LSU for the investment they have made in their distance program. You see it headlined by Michaela Rose, but they have a lot of really strong athletes, and they're proving to have that scoring depth that's necessary at that meet. At this meet, rather. Not just the 10 points for first that you need here at the SEC. It's those depth points, and that's certainly what they're looking to have outside of the athletes they have in the 800, but also in the 1500, in the 10,000 meters, with Ella Chestnut making a really strong run up front.
Ella Chestnut now clearly picking the pace up a bit. You can see the turnover has improved a little bit. But still a lot of runners in a small space.
Now
this far into the race, 8.5 minutes into the race.
Currently at 35-minute pace, right at 35 flat. And now who is starting to creep up into that lead pack but Hilda Olomomoy. Wanting to navigate through a bit of that traffic and has done a really good job now of positioning herself on the outside of lane 1. Has not lost a race all season. Her best race coming at the Brian Clay Invitational when she ran 15:06 over 5K, second in NCAA history. Also has that second fastest 10,000 meter time, as we noted, behind only Parker Valby. That is a head-to-head battle we hope to see at the 5,000 on Saturday. Her teammate Brenda Toohey also buried in there just alongside Noe of Arkansas. So this duo from Alabama will like to use each other as much as possible as things start to spread out. .82.5, so back-to-back 82.5s for the most recent 800 meters. Getting ever so quick, just ever so slightly quickening the pace.
And you can see immediately that the pack starts to string out. As they try to get a little bit of relief from some water on the back stretch.
Look how even though Sydney Thorvaldsen is. You know, she's so efficient. Like mechanically with the way that she runs, she looks so good. And she really has been navigating this race so incredibly well. Just watching her mechanics, everything she's just really, really strong over 10,000 meters. Tough to find many athletes who are able to run with that level of poise as she is.
Still very, very tightly packed in that sort of top 15 of the 25 that were entered. But if I'm Sydney Thorvaldsen, there's no reason for me to get up there and push anything.
Well, if you feel that, you may not have quite the leg speed and the turnover that the Alabama duo does, that would, as this gets a little thicker into it, likely into the second half, more of the 5K mark, I think, is where you might see that happen. Also been a great run from Ryan Helmers of Ole Miss. She has been right there up front there alongside the leaders this entire time. She was an All-American in cross country this fall and a 4-time SEC scorer on the track.
All right, Pack.
So Chestnut, Thorvaldsen, Olomomoy, Toohey. And of course Peyton Noe right there around 6th or 7th for Arkansas currently. All right, with 16 laps remaining, let's step aside for a minute, wrap up the last field event of the day, the women's javelin, and Dan.
Well, earlier in the evening here, the women got the javelin concluded. This is Caitlin Fairchild, the junior from Texas A&M. She does have a sister on the team, Mackenzie, who's a freshman. But this is her first attempt in her first round. She go 185.9. She's taking early lead in this women's javelin. She was third last year at the SEC Championships. Here's Trinity Spooner. This is an LSU freshman on her second attempt. She won the high school division at the Texas Relays last year, and she was the Louisiana State champ last year. And here she is competing for a title at the SEC Championships. 174 feet 1 for her. Leanna Davis, a junior from Texas A&M. She'd get things going, save the best for last, actually, on a 6th attempt. She would go big from Australia. She was second at the NCAA Championships outdoors last year, but she would defend her title here, throwing 189 feet 11 inches, and those Texas A&M Aggies would go 1 and 2, and the freshman would finish in third from LSU.
All right, coming along, 15 laps remaining. And right on 82.5 for the last 4 tours of this track. Now an 83 flat laps, so Ella Chestnut doing a nice job of keeping it even, and Sydney Thorvaldsen, the defending champion, right there behind her. Helen Alamomoy of Alabama is also there.
Through 4K at 13:54.5, so that last K, 3:26 pace, very comfortable for this field, right around 34:46.
That's Ryan Helmers, the senior of Ole Miss, in there, as well as Peyton Noe and Brenda Toohey.
And worth noting the time that Sydney Thorvaldsen ran to win last year. It was a very tactical race yet again. 35:07.5, what we saw last year when they ran this meet in Baton Rouge. Her PR far superior to that. She's run 32:36 just earlier this season at Stanford. As we're taking a look here at the field, and you do see, of course, Alabama with Brenda Toohey and Hilda Olomomoy doing a good job of kind of sticking together and using one another through this point of the race. That pace, as you said, had been really consistent. They've settled in to right around 82.5 to 83 second pace. And in watching Hilda Olomomoy, who's currently in third, her coach Nick Stenoff said, "She is one of the strongest runners I have ever coached." He said she can really grind and log heavy mileage. He describes her as an aerobic monster, and that's what you need to be in the 10,000, right?
We really haven't dropped that many runners at this point, as we're a lap away from being halfway through the race.
Ella Chestnut done a really good job there up front, and Sydney Thorvaldsen in a really threatening spot, kind of in the catbird seat, if you will, just able to stick herself onto the shoulder and be drug along. Meanwhile, Olomomoy very comfortable there next to them, in compliment to Helmers of Ole Miss. In fact, 2 Ole Miss athletes there in that lead pack, with the other being Skylar Boogard, who has been a runner-up in this event at the SEC Championships just 2 years ago. Boogard, a 3-time SEC scorer. That most recent lap, that's consecutive 83.5s. Now, Dwight.
About the half the field still in contention as we come up to the halfway point at the end of this straightaway.
And the resume for Olomomoy, not only has she run 32.05 before, that was our PR from last season, she ran 32.22 this year at Stanford. She's showcased her speed at 5,000 and at 1,500. She recently clocked a 4:15 1,500, and that speed has come from her strength. Coach Nick Stenoff said, haven't done a whole lot of speed work. She's just able to do that off of the strength and her being that aerobic monster. And then her confidence has really come along, which is going to make her dangerous, not just here at these championships, but also at the NCAA championships.
Remember that many of these athletes will be running another very competitive 10,000 meters in 2 weeks when they go to their regionals. And then the top 24 will go from regionals, 12 each. 24 will go to the NCAA championships 2 weeks after that to contest the national championship.
Most recent 400 at 84 seconds. Hey, and you know what? Not just those upcoming 10,000s, but a lot of them will still have work to do and run the 5,000
Sure.
coming up on Saturday as well. Hey, I noted Hilda Olomomoi's leg speed, but Lance Harder told me also that Sydney Thorvaldsen had a huge 1500 breakthrough recently at their home meet. They did a twilight meet there in Fayetteville, dropped her PR over 1500 from 422 to 415. He said that really raised eyebrows from her competitors, that she's developed that leg speed and is now a threat in different fashions. I mentioned how comfortable she looks being able to hold that pace and just be that kind of metronome up front, be that pace setter and sustain a pace evenly. But she has also started to flex that versatility in some of the kick that she can have over the rest of the field, as it looks like it's shaping up very similarly to what we saw on the men's side, probably going to unfold over the last, say, 1,000 to 1,500 meters.
Eleven laps to go. And they're still cranking out 83.5 to 84 second laps. Waiting for something to change.
Great stat from Tom Lewis letting us know, through 5K they're at 17:24 currently, and when you think about Parker Valby's collegiate record, she was at right around 15:30 at the halfway point. You're seeing Hilda Olomomoy gesture ever so slightly to her right, getting a little too close the rest of the field there, so noting to let her have some space to get her leg kicked back and make sure that she's not getting tangled up, anyone running up on her. So
and that's really the danger when the pace lags like it can do, like it appears to be doing. It's sort of creeping slower and slower. Peyton Noe staying out of trouble by being out in the inside part of lane 2. Mentioned that Parker Valby is the collegiate record holder at 10,000 meters. She's not running this race, but she will be running the 5K on Saturday for the Gators. She's the collegiate record holder in that event as well.
And just recently this week was able to get her photo up on the Gator Greats wall that is along the home stretch here. That celebrates their national champions with the plaque, but to get a photo, you have to be a 4-time national champion. And not only did they note her 4 national titles, newly minted as the 10K collegiate record holder, so they have that noted up there as well here at the facility. It's really going to be interesting to see how the Alabama duo and the Arkansas duo fend off one another and how team tactics are going to come into play with how this shakes out. Also, not too far behind them as we get a little bit wider as they're coming now. There you go. Again, okay, there's Olomomoy wanting to jump out. You saw her push that hand back to make sure she had space. She's getting anxious. She's getting up there and starting to spread things out ever so slightly. And there's Brenda Tui right there to go with her. She saw the signal from her teammate to make a burst to get right up there. What a great response, as you see the Razorbacks now comfortable to settle into 3rd and 4th, along with the duo from the University of Tennessee, as you're seeing a big surge there as they head toward the backstretch.
Olomomoy making that move a couple of laps earlier than Patrick Kiprop did in the men's race. But this was the change we were looking for, and the response is what's important.
And I do believe for Tennessee, that's Emily Covert. She previously competed at Colorado, recently transferred, I should say, as of this semester. And it is Emily Covert. Just transferred to the University of Tennessee. While she competed for Colorado, she was 4th at the NCAA championships at 10,000 meters. And in talking to Sean Carlson at UT, he said they've really spent time getting her back to form. They're really, really close to getting her where she wants to be. In this meet, they wanted her to gain some momentum going into the regional meet and on to nationals with a chance to be All-American. He said, we got to get a little swagger back. She still has eligibility next year fit and getting there, but they're really building a stable of those distance runners, and that's headlined right here by Emily Covert.
So Olomomoy with about a 20-meter gap back to Brenda Toohey, her teammate.
And she built that gap thanks to a 74-second 400 meters. As you're seeing Peyton Noe and Sydney Thorvaldsen move through the field, Olomomoy going to take some of the water there on the backstretch, douse herself to try to gear up for this last kick. Through 7,000 meters, they were at 24:03, and look at the gap she has put on the rest of the field. Brenda Toohey in tow, but she is in a position to which Emily Covert can just reel her right in.
So it's Olomomoy, and about 20 meters back, 25 meters back, Toohey, her teammate, Covert of Tennessee, and then the Arkansas duo of the defending champion Thorvaldsen, who has now been passed by the freshman Peyton Noe. Those are your top 5 with 7 laps remaining.
75.5 for that last 400 meters, and a great note here. With as incredible of a career as Hilda Olomomoy has had so far at Alabama, she's actually looking for her first individual SEC title in any event. She has been second or third in 5 SEC events, including cross country. Well, we're always seeing her, often go head to head with Parker Valby, and that is, of course, a battle we look forward to seeing, hopefully in the 5,000 meters on Saturday, should both these athletes, of course, race that event. But this is a special event so far. She is putting down a special performance, and Brenda Toohey right there with her.
Defending champion Sydney Thorvaldsen back in 5th place and struggling. There's a group of 3 in the middle, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Toohey, Covert, and Noe, the freshman from Arkansas.
Alabama really developing into a force to be reckoned with on a national level in these women's distance events. You're showing it right here as they are currently in 1st and 2nd. Then you have Covert of Tennessee, who is in great shape. And Peyton Noe, the freshman, what an incredible job that she has done right now to be in that top 4. And you know that she has an opportunity. She has plenty of strength in her legs to put in a final surge. .76.5 that last 400, so slowed about a second per lap over these last 4 laps, thanks to that big surge that she threw in and was able to gap the rest of the field as she takes an opportunity to grab some of that water and just douse herself on the backstretch. She's not going to need any of that leg speed that she has, because she has developed an 8-second advantage over the rest of the field to this point.
Right now, the battle appears to be for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, unless Olomomoy made a big mistake, and those 3 quick laps end up coming back and haunting her. There is Brenda Toohey of Alabama, then Covert of Tennessee, and the freshman Noe of Arkansas.
And you've got to feel great if you are UT right now, seeing where Emily Covert is, knowing that she has raced in high caliber championships. She's been an All-American before, so she knows how to close and put down big kicks in championship races. But everyone going into this said no matter who you are, you gotta respect this 10,000 meter field. This is a really strong 10K field, and a lot of these are gonna be back for what should be a thrilling 5K on Saturday. But hey, right now it's gonna be a thrilling finish to the 10,000. Peyton Noe has not seemed to have any fatigue settle in whatsoever, despite being up front for the majority of this race alongside Sydney Thorvaldsen before Hilda Olomomoy took over.
She's currently in 4th, but she's absolutely in position to make a move on the 2 in front of her. Helen Olamomoy easily 50 meters ahead in 1st place with 4 laps remaining.
77.5, that last 400 for Hilda Olamomoy now built an 11-second lead, and that's a beautiful shot right now, exactly of how commanding of a lead she has built so far, and this great battle that is shaping up between 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, with significant team implications on the line, especially if you are Alabama or you are Arkansas. Now a 13-second lead. We have been updated to this point. They have traded off in this chase pack so many times. Tui's been right up there. Then you have seen Noe. Emily Covert made a move and navigated through some traffic just about 300 meters ago. So they have kind of all been rotating around. And this has been such an impressive run by Peyton Noe.
Noe now in 2nd place for Arkansas. Hilda Olamomoy all by herself, now with 3 laps remaining.
And Dwight, she's going to aim to do as little as necessary to hold on to this lead and to get the victory, knowing she wants to leave something in the tank going into Saturday with the 5,000. Of course, she has a big weekend this weekend, and as you mentioned, that slate of the NCAA Regional is very heavy, and then the NCAA Championships. And here you see, here's Noe gearing up. Look at this surge she has put down, and there is very little response from Tui. Emily Covert responds, and she is gonna go with her.
In the team scheme of things, Brenda Tui being dropped back to 4th and seemingly no response, that is not going to help their cause.
This pace at right around 34 minutes, incredibly comfortable for everyone, really, who's right there up in front. But worth noting that Peyton Noe has run 33:11, certainly not in these conditions. That was at the Brian Clay Invitational in April, so it wasn't quite, the heat and humidity we're dealing with. Noe with an 80-second last lap as well, so she's really right on pace of what we have seen Olamomoy run over the last 400 meters coming into this point right there.
2 laps to go for Hilda Olamomoy of Alabama, who took over about 6 laps ago, got tired of the mid-80s pace, threw in a 74-second stinger, and then sort of each lap ran 1.5 seconds slower, then 2-3 seconds slower, and now has built such a huge lead that she's pretty much not catchable. Peyton Noe, the freshman from Arkansas, in 2nd, as Emily Covert sort of surges back in 4th and 3rd.
After so many podium finishes, Hilda Olamomoy is finally due to get an SEC individual championship, but Peyton Noe is making a huge run in 2nd place right now, as she has separated herself from Emily Covert and Brenda Tui.
Peyton Noe has probably clawed 5 meters back from Helen Olamomoy on that last lap. There's the bell. 1 lap remaining. Hilda Olamomoy, the junior from Alabama, broke this race open about 7 laps ago and has never looked back. Peyton Noe, the freshman from Arkansas, trying to score some points for her Razorback team. Defending champion Sydney Thorvaldsen just wasn't able to answer the call once the pace picked up. Less than 200 meters to go now for Helen Olamomoy, in search of her first individual SEC championship title. Alabama winning 3 of the last 4 10,000-meter titles. Only Sydney Thorvaldsen of Arkansas has broken up that string over the last 4 years since we came back from COVID. Hilda Olamomoy breaking 34 minutes in this 10K.
But watch the finish of Peyton Noe. Look how much she has. She is digging in. She is charging. What an absolute phenomenal run from the freshman from the Fayetteville program.
Emily Colbert ends up third. There's Peyton Noe. It looks like Brenda Tui might have ended back in 5th place. So 14 points for Alabama in the 10,000. If that was the case, we'll be able to check that with the official results. She's been the runner-up, she's been third, she's been everything but first as an individual until tonight when Helen Olamomoy wins the 10,000 meters here at the SEC Championships. Day 1.
Finally a smile. She looked like she was not satisfied, and now looks like she is certainly going to be thrilled with that finish, but certainly hungry for more in this championship. There is that burst from Olamomoy to move up into the lead because the pace had been very conservative early on. Brenda Tui would go with her. They settle into 1 and 2. And Olamomoy would so consistently just continue to build that lead over the last 1,200 or so. Number 6 in meet history with that finishing time of 33:47.
So it was Bria Benes of Vanderbilt who ended up 4th ahead of Brenda Tui. That's why Alabama got 1st and 5th. And Sydney Thorvaldsen was way back in 8th. She did score a point for Arkansas, but the new SEC champion is down on the infield with Fernando.
Thanks, Dwight. Well, Hilda, first individual title for you. Tell me, how does that feel?
I feel very good. I just waiting for 5K. Then I say for my mind, like I need to wait until 3K to go. Then I just go to pick for my own, like, yeah.
We were following the race with Coach Stefan over there on the back straightaway, and he was saying that you guys needed to go with 12 laps to go, but you waited, right?
I waited because I didn't want to go for 5K alone. Then I say, let me wait until 3K. Then I go.
And then he kept on saying, Tolga, Tolga. Tell me what that means.
He said, toka, toka. That means like go, go, go.
In Swahili, right?
Yeah, you need to go.
I need to go now, and I need to go back to Dwight. Thanks so much, and congratulations, Hilda.
Thank you.
Well, there you go, Dwight. Toga.
All right, Fernando. Thank you so much.
recovered.